Zhang Fan began to understand why they had called him here. The specific model of the vehicle was not discernible, but its higher-end version should support the modification for autonomous driving capabilities. Sun Wei laughed. Don't play dumb. Everyone here can see that the key issue is how the vehicle evaded the missile attack. He then pointed to Zhang Fan and introduced him to the other officers. You probably don't know him, do you? This is Zhang Fan. The popular autonomous driving system on the market was invented by him. Zhang Fan awkwardly said. Currently, aside from a few modified test vehicles, all the autonomous vehicles on the market are illegally modified, and their systems are just testing versions we provided to the manufacturers. The official version hasn't been released yet. Sun Wei responded. Don't shift the topic. Clarify this matter, as it will only benefit you. Zhang Fan replied. All right, I need to connect to the projector. Sun Wei signaled majorly. Tell him the connection method and password. Just agree. Zhang Fan took out his phone. Ah Chung, can you explain this issue? The image of a young man named Ah Chung appeared on the projection screen. Also dressed in military uniform with the rank of major, the primary responsibilities of autonomous driving are 1. Ensure the safety of passengers. 2. Prevent collisions with other vehicles or individuals, avoiding or reducing scrapes. 3. Adhere to traffic regulations. Sun Wei was not surprised by Ah Chung's appearance. Is this the super intelligence you researched? Why does it have the same quirks as you? Ah Chung replied. Major Sun Wei, Zhang Fan requires your formal written authorization to connect to the external network. Sun Wei was taken aback. You even notice set conditions? Ah Chung, many data contents need to be accessed remotely. We must adhere to the confidentiality rules here. Sun Wei opened a folder on the table, took out a pen, and wrote a few lines, tearing it off and handing it to Li Ming. Take this to the office for a stamp. While waiting, Sun Wei picked up Zhang Fan's phone and examined it closely. Zhang Fan explained. It's just a commercially available smartphone, but it has a few tools I developed. Sun Wei asked. So, you can easily crack the encrypted network here with this phone and connect to the internet? Zhang Fan humbly replied. I still need some time. Ah Chung has an inherent advantage, and he is faster. Sun Wei inquired. So this Ah Chung only exists as a program on your phone? Zhang Fan replied. Pretty much. Sun Wei smiled mysteriously and did not continue questioning. After a while, Li Ming returned and handed the stamped authorization letter to Zhang Fan. At Zhang Fan's suggestion, Ah Chung continued. The standard roads in this country are very scarce, maintenance is inadequate, and severely damaged sections account for over 70%. The driving environment is extremely harsh. Even worse, there are often roadside bombs, drones, fighter jets, helicopters, individual rocket launchers, grenades, various handguns, rifles, and sniper rifles attacking vehicles. The automatic driving system struggles to effectively protect passengers in such environments. The projection of Ah Chung disappears, and a series of video clips begin to play. These videos show various attacks captured by the cameras on autonomous vehicles. Some vehicles manage to evade the attacks, some get damaged but escape in a disheveled manner, while many others are completely destroyed, along with their occupants. After a few minutes of video playback, Ah Chung continues. To reduce the occurrence of such situations and maximize the safety of passengers, I have designed a driving environment perception system that comprehensively detects dangerous attack information in the area and coordinates various autonomous vehicles to avoid these dangers. Up until 5 minutes ago, it has successfully evaded dangerous attacks 173 times, with a success rate of 97%. The projection screen then shows 5 more videos, all of failed evasions. 2 vehicles were destroyed by roadside bombs, 2 were hit by rockets from close range, and 1 was blown up by a sniper rifle that ruptured the fuel tank. The video ends, stopping on the last explosion image. The meeting room falls silent. After a while, an officer murmurs. With such conditions, achieving a 97% success rate is impressive for this intelligence. Major Li Ming curiously asks, Ah Chung, what capabilities does your driving environment perception system have? Ah Chung replies, it collects various network information, electromagnetic signals in the air, laser, infrared, ultrasonic, and other detection signals for comprehensive analysis and judgment. A pale-faced officer interjects. This information, even without considering the decryption process, requires considerable computing power for filtering and analysis of vast amounts of data, right? Do you have a data center in the region? Ah Chung, the over 3 million autonomous vehicles and more than 100 million smartphones in this region can provide a remaining computing power support of 36 quintillion calculations per second. This computing power is roughly equivalent to a Tianhe 2 supercomputer. Another officer exclaims. Zhang Fan asks, how did you predict the attack information in the video Major Li played? Ah Chung, after the MQ-9 drone receives an attack command, there is a delay of over 10 seconds from launch to hit, making it the easiest type of attack to evade when combined with guidance signal judgments. Sun Wei asks, can this driving environment perception system run independently of your support? For example, on our military's computer systems? Ah Chung, Both the autonomous driving system and the driving environment perception system can operate across systems and platforms. The difference lies in the detection methods and the scale of computing power. The discussion continues for several hours, with officers continuously asking questions, while Zheng Fan and Aching take turns answering. As darkness approaches, Sun Wei finally halts the questions. Little Zheng, seeing everyone so enthusiastic, you should stay a few more days. Zheng Fan replies gloomily. I have already shared everything without reservation. Sun Wei, just listening to you isn't enough. We need to see it in action. All right then. I need to make a call to inform someone. Zheng Fan feels helpless. Sun Wei, Shaoli, take Zheng Fan to make the call. Then to the cafeteria for a meal, and arrange a place for him to stay. Chapter 45 Military Exercise Before Dawn. Zheng Fan was awakened by the sound of someone knocking on the door. Last night, Li Ming had arranged a room for Zheng Fan on the first floor of the conference building. The room was over 30 square meters, with a bathroom of about 7 or 8 square meters on the left as one entered. The washstand was equipped with unopened towels, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and other toiletries. It had a sitting toilet, a shower, and a bathtub for soaking. In the center of the bedroom was an old double bed, with a nightstand on each side. Against the wall on the left was an old wardrobe with a mirror embedded in the middle. On the right, by the window, was an old wooden desk, in front of which was a somewhat mismatched computer chair. Before going to bed, Li Ming had also brought a complete set of military uniform, shoes, and hat for Zheng Fan, instructing him to change into them the next day. Groggy, Zheng Fan checked his phone to see the time. It was just 4 in the morning. He got out of bed and opened the door, finding Li Ming standing outside, neatly dressed. We're leaving in 30 minutes. Come in and wait while I get dressed. Zheng Fan yawned and quickly washed his face and brushed his teeth. He then changed into the new clothes from the inside out, putting on thick cotton socks and black leather boots. After a hurried breakfast at the cafeteria where they had dinner the night before, he got into a Warrior off-road vehicle with Li Ming and 2 other officers. The vehicle traveled steadily on the dark road for about 10 minutes before arriving at a small airport, where a white propeller plane with blue edges was parked on the runway. In a room similar to a waiting hall at the airport, Zheng Fan saw Sun Wei again. For safety reasons, your phone and other personal items will be stored here for now and returned to you when you come back. Zheng Fan didn't think much of it. Apart from his phone, he had no other personal belongings, not even a wallet he hadn't used in a long time. An officer next to Sun Wei handed Zheng Fan a briefcase. Inside the briefcase was a thick phone, a thick laptop, a universal charger, and a dark red identification document. These are issued to you. The document is for proving your identity in emergencies, so don't use it lightly. You are not considered an active duty soldier. You can take the phone and laptop with you after the exercise is over. You have 10 minutes before the flight departs, so you can transfer some necessary software from your phone to these 2 devices. The 10 minutes passed quickly, and Zheng Fan handed over his phone without transferring any data. The plane had only about 20 seats, with 2 seats on each side of the aisle. There were 11 people boarding the plane, and they could choose their seats freely. The seats were similar to those on a civil aviation passenger aircraft. Zheng Fan chose a window seat, with Li Ming sitting beside him. Unfortunately, it was pitch black outside, and there was nothing to see. The comfort level of this plane was worlds apart from that of a commercial aircraft. One could feel slight bumps in the seats, and the buzzing sound of the propellers was quite annoying. The passengers had no mood to talk, and all closed their eyes to catch some sleep. After flying for over an hour, the plane landed smoothly. Before disembarking, Zheng Fan noticed that everyone was putting on their military overcoats, standing the collars up and fastening the buttons tightly, with their cotton hats pulled down over their ears. He also followed suit and did the same. Outside, it was still pitch black, with only a small area of lights at the airport. 5 off-road vehicles were already parked by the plane, with a few people waiting beside them. Standing on the escalator, despite it being close to the beginning of spring, the cold wind here stung the face. There were no more pleasantries among the group as they all got into the vehicles. The engines remained running, and the warm air blowing on their faces was so comfortable it made one want to hum. Li Ming and Zheng Fan were still in the same vehicle, with an officer from yesterday's meeting sitting in the passenger seat. The vehicle traveled for over an hour on a bumpy road until it reached a field camp as dawn broke. Several command vehicles, air defense vehicles, and armored vehicles were deployed under camouflage nets. When getting out of the car, Zheng Fan noticed that only 2 of the 5 off-road vehicles that had picked them up at the airport had followed. A soldier with a dark, square face came out to greet them, accompanied by several others. Welcome, Expert Zheng. You are the ace of our exercise, and whether we can shine really depends on you. Li Ming introduced. This is Brigade Commander Zhu, the commander of the Red Army forces for this exercise. Brigade Commander Zhu said, just call me Zheng Fan. I don't know much, and there may not be much I can do. You're too modest, haha. The exercise command has already authorized us. During this exercise, you can use all necessary means to ensure our victory. Brigade Commander Zhu was very enthusiastic, putting his arm around Zhang Fan's shoulders as they walked into the command post. Once inside, Brigade Commander Zhu introduced several people in the command center to Zhang Fan, then had the Chief of Staff explain the specific situation of both sides. Both sides in the exercise were the most elite heavy combined brigades, equipped with more than 100 of the most advanced heavy tanks. 942 rocket launchers with a range of 40 kilometers, over 100 infantry fighting vehicles, more than 50 self-propelled howitzers, 9 anti-tank missile vehicles, 5 field air defense missile vehicles, as well as reconnaissance, logistics, and supply units, among others. Though the numbers were not large, these small forces were well equipped. Basically, they had all the equipment a modern army could have. In addition to these basic forces, there were also temporarily assigned drone units, armed helicopter units, and so on. The objective of the campaign was to locate and eliminate the Blue Army forces within this area of several thousand square kilometers. Listening to the Chief of Staff's introduction, Zhang Fan had already connected his laptop to the Red Army command network. Zhang Fan confirmed with Brigade Commander Zhu again. I can really use any means, right? This is an exercise, and we still need to avoid casualties as much as possible. Don't worry, I will only use cyber means. The actual command to eliminate the opponent still relies on Brigade Commander Zhu's strategies. At this point, the sky had brightened, and the sun rose in the east, with the blue sky stretching endlessly without a cloud. Such weather was perfect for satellite reconnaissance. Soon, a huge satellite image appeared on the central display of the command center. The image zoomed in continuously, with red and blue dots automatically marked on the map. As the image continued to enlarge, one of the red dots grew larger, revealing the command vehicle and radar antennas beneath the opponent's camouflage net through the blurry image. The Blue Army troops are located 150 kilometers southeast of our position. What means do we have to strike at them? Commander Zhu leaned closer to the screen and scrutinized the information, then turned back and asked eagerly, "Is this intelligence accurate?" Zhang Fan confirmed. "This is a satellite image from 5 minutes ago. Based on the comprehensive positioning of multiple targets, it can be verified against the satellite imagery. I can paralyze their command and air defense systems before the attack is initiated." Commander Zhu laughed heartily and then issued the command. Deploy all armed helicopters. And both the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalions of the combined regiment will move towards the target simultaneously. Victory is within our grasp. 20 minutes later, Zhang Fan opened a new satellite map, quickly analyzed it, and decisively entered a line of commands, hitting the Enter key. The opponent's command post and main forces were preparing to withdraw, with only a few air defense vehicles remaining in place. I have already disabled their communication command system and air defense radar computer. It cannot be repaired for at least 10 minutes. Then what are we waiting for? I command. Helicopter forces. Launch the attack immediately. 40 minutes after Zhang Fan arrived, the Red Army's armed helicopter units proactively attacked, annihilating the opponent's command post, all air defense forces, and the majority of their main forces, with 0 losses on the red side. The Exercise Command Center announced a complete victory for the red side. Chapter 46. With reservations at the Exercise Command Center, outside the building, Commander Zhu was gloating in front of the recently arrived Blue Army commander. You're finally having a bad day. Let me ask you, do you admit defeat or not? Commander Man replied, You won by luck this time. Don't get too cocky. I'm curious, what means did you use to determine our position? Wanna know? I want to tell you. You want to tell me, but I can guess. We've been in electromagnetic silence, and your drones haven't shown signs of large-scale deployment, right? Reconnaissance satellite, right? How did you know? During that time, only one satellite from a certain country was passing over. It seems you have experts assisting you over there. Am I right? Amazing, you could guess that? Our air defense radar vehicles can't even be powered on yet. We need your experts to give us a lesson. You're also in a position to ask me for help now? That depends on how you show your sincerity. 2 bottles of Moutai. For bottles, no negotiation. No problem. Deal. Where is he? He is brought by Commander Sun and is not under my management. Commander Man had a defeated expression and said helplessly, I didn't expect you, old Zhu, to become so cunning. Commander Zhu proudly replied, There's no choice. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When I'm in your territory, how can I survive without being a bit cunning? The two laughed as they walked into the operations hall of the Exercise Command Center. On one wall, there were several large display screens, and below them, a row of computers with dozens of operators typing away. In front of the command seats, there was a huge sand table, with small flags marking the positions of both sides' troops. A group of people was gathered around the sand table, pointing and discussing. Li Ming was reporting the situation to Sun Wei and several generals, while Zhang Fan stood to the side. Sun Wei smiled and said to Zhang Fan, It seems I underestimated you. With just an ordinary computer, you can influence a battle. Observing Zhang Fan's hesitance, Sun Wei continued, Feel free to speak your mind. There's no need to be polite. I didn't invite you here just to watch the show. I'm here to point out the flaws. Zheng Fan organized his thoughts and replied, "Our equipment is more advanced than I expected, but our information processing and combat methods are much more outdated than I imagined. Our information systems are comprehensive. In my view, this is both an advantage and a fatal weakness." A general in his 50s interjected, "Can you give an example to illustrate your point?" Zheng Fan took the laptop given to him and operated it briefly. "Everyone, look at the big screen." The screen displayed the situation inside a Blue Army command vehicle, where several computers were showing the same system error, reporting errors during startup, rebooting, and system restoration, all ineffective. Several Blue Army technicians were troubleshooting the issue. One technician restarted the computer, and this time it successfully booted up. When the other malfunctioning computers were restarted, they all booted successfully. The scene suddenly shifted to outside the command vehicle, where an anti-tank missile vehicle unexpectedly activated itself. The launch platform adjusted its angle automatically, and with a bang, it fired a missile into the sky. The view then switched to the missile's flight path, where a drone appeared ahead. After a burst of flames, both the drone and missile debris scattered down. Impressive, truly impressive. The commanding officer of the brigade, visibly excited, approached Zheng Fan, praising him repeatedly. "It seems you held back. If you had directly controlled my launch vehicle to rebel, we wouldn't have needed the Red Army to mobilize even a single soldier to defeat us." He shook Zheng Fan's right hand vigorously, saying, "Hello, Comrade Zheng Fan. I'm the Blue Army commander you just defeated. I look forward to your guidance." Sun Wei chuckled. "You seem too excited for someone who just lost a battle. Of course I'm happy to identify my shortcomings during the exercise." The brigade commander turned to Zheng Fan and asked, "Since you can identify problems, you must also be able to solve them, right?" Zheng Fan replied helplessly, "I can help you patch a few vulnerabilities, but I can't create an impenetrable system. Just as there is no indestructible spear, there is also no invulnerable shield." Sun Wei interjected, "You can obtain satellite images from a certain country in just a few minutes, so you must have researched their system. How does it compare to ours?" Zheng Fan replied, "Their system is more powerful and complex, but similarly, it has more vulnerabilities." Sun Wei said excitedly, "Can you give an example in this regard?" Seeing the look in Zheng Fan's eyes, he understood immediately. "Does this require authorization? All right, I will grant you authorization. But there must be no innocent casualties." A general advised. "Aren't you afraid of causing diplomatic disputes? Do you want to create chaos?" Sun Wei responded, "Haven't they already stirred up enough disputes? Besides, do they dare to publicize such matters? This way, we can reduce the occurrence of conflicts." Zheng Fan internally agreed with Sun Wei's perspective. Since mastering a unique hacking technique, Zheng Fan had never used it so openly before. Many of his activities were done secretly. Although they were thrilling and enjoyable, he could only relish them alone while avoiding detection. Now, being able to showcase his skills in front of so many people felt unprecedented. Such opportunities were rare. The online world is vast, encompassing the entire globe, yet it is also small enough to reach any place in an instant. The people in the hall were captivated by Zheng Fan's actions. It didn't take long, just a few minutes, before he heavily struck the enter key and gestured for everyone to look at the screen. The content on a dozen large screens refreshed instantly. The screens displayed surveillance footage of a foreign warship, including areas like crew dormitories, dining halls, recreational areas, various deck positions. The cockpit, command center, and the ocean surface, all captured by different cameras. Various individuals of different skin tones were seen moving around, and from their uniforms, it was evident they belonged to a particular navy. The two central screens did not show surveillance footage. The left screen displayed a navigation map of the warship, and the familiar coastline and island outlines were recognizable to everyone present. The right screen showed the ship's weapon control system, featuring virtual icons for main guns, radar, close-in weapon systems, torpedo launchers, vertical launch systems, anti-submarine helicopters, and more. One officer exclaimed, "This is a Burke-class destroyer." Li Ming added, "The USS is Condor. It's a frequent visitor to the South China Sea, and it's been reported in the news several times recently." Hearing is one thing, but seeing is believing. Everyone knew Zheng Fan was impressive, but seeing him operate like an ordinary person made them unconsciously underestimate him. Now, with just a few keystrokes, he had accessed a warship of a major world power. It was truly shocking. Without comparison, there is no harm. Most of the personnel in this operations hall were technical officers who also spent their days typing away, many confident in their own skills. They all understood the difficulty of accomplishing such a feat. It was akin to climbing Mount Everest with bare hands. Now the facts were laid bare. Suddenly, they felt a sense of awe towards this seemingly inconspicuous individual. Several generals, despite being accustomed to grand scenes, encountered a situation like this for the first time. They exchanged glances, feeling a deep sense of shock. Sun Wei, having mentally prepared for this situation, was the first to regain his composure. After swallowing hard, he asked, "What are you planning to do?" Chapter 47. Going big, I want to fire all 96 tubes and flatten the governor's office. Zheng Fan joked. Haha, what a joke. That's unrealistic. Half of those tubes are filled with anti-aircraft missiles, and there are only 48 Tomahawks. That won't do. The impact would be too significant. Sun Wei felt a bit caught in a dilemma. Zheng Fan mysteriously replied, no need for you to worry. The orders have already been sent out. Just wait and see. The Iskander has safely sailed out of the strait, and the crew members have quietly let out a sigh of relief. Despite always being safe, everyone still feels a sense of unease. An officer went to the foredeck to get some fresh air and relax his tense nerves. Just as he lit a cigarette, a massive roar captured his attention. He saw thick smoke and flames billowing from a vertical launch system, followed by a 5-meter-long missile shooting into the sky. A second missile launched just a second later, and then a third one followed suit. After soaring over 100 meters high, the 3 massive missiles changed direction and began to descend, flying westward. Oh my gosh, is the war about to start? The officer exclaimed, his freshly lit cigarette slipping from his mouth. In the operations hall, everyone was still reeling from the shock. The big screen displayed the foredeck of the warship, with 3 missiles launching into the sky from the vertical launch system. Many people silently marveled at the audacity of it all. Sun Wei remarked, you can't be serious about targeting the governor's office, right? The missiles need to have their targets and flight paths set before they can be launched. Zheng Fan explained. This could spell big trouble. Sun Wei said, don't worry, just watch the screen. The display showed the foredeck's vertical launch system firing off 3 more missiles in quick succession. These surface-to-air missiles, traveling at speeds exceeding 3 times the speed of sound, should be able to intercept the earlier launched missiles. The air defense exercise had been planned, and they had a pretext ready. It was just a matter of how clever they were. Just then, Sun Wei's phone rang. He took it out, and, upon seeing the caller ID, his expression changed, and he hurriedly exited the operations hall. On the big screen, a camera feed suddenly cut out and switched to a black background with radar monitoring. The radar displayed 3 low-altitude red dots moving rapidly to the left, while 3 high-altitude red dots were fast approaching from behind. The people here participated in exercises daily and quickly understood what was happening. The 3 recently launched surface-to-air missiles were tasked with intercepting the 3 earlier launched missiles. Although the missiles had launched over a minute earlier, they were traveling at less than Mach 1, having only covered 20 to 30 kilometers. The surface-to-air missiles, on the other hand, traveled at 3 times the speed of sound, making it easy for them to catch up. On the radar, the 3 low-flying missiles suddenly ascended, colliding with the incoming high-altitude missiles. All radar signals vanished. The big screens went dark and quickly reverted to the original feed. Zheng Fan had cut off the connection with the warship. Everything that had just happened felt like a dream. When Sun Wei returned to the hall after the call, he ordered, everyone is to remain silent about what just happened. Not a word outside. Li Ming, retrieve the surveillance footage from earlier and do not leave any backups. Zheng Fan, come back to the capital with me. On the plane back, Sun Wei and Zheng Fan sat side by side. Looking at Zheng Fan, who seemed unfazed, you have quite the nerve. Your psychological quality is impressive. Zheng Fan retorted, I'm actually very timid and sincerely hope that war won't happen. What do you think we should do next? It's simple. Many people can guess it. A strong protest. Zheng Fan's words made Sun Wei laugh. However, this protest should have some effect. Let's hope so. Both fell into silence, with only the buzzing sound of the airplane propeller in the background. Meanwhile, the leader of a certain country was also in a meeting. In the underground shelter of the command building, the leader paced angrily, shouting at his subordinates. Why? Why? Can anyone tell me why? The great country of divine protection, the most powerful nation on this planet, the most advanced attack systems, the strike weapon system, the strongest defense systems. How could they all be controlled at the same time? Are you sure this isn't an April Fool's joke? His key aide, the security affairs assistant, an elderly man named Poke, reported. It has been confirmed multiple times. The captain and several officers of the Iskander reported that the ship was out of control for 5 minutes. The Strike Global Attack System automatically set the attack targets and loaded data, suddenly launching 3 Strike cruise missiles. A minute later, the onboard defense system automatically fired 3 interceptor missiles, hitting 3 Strike missiles at a distance of 100 kilometers, with a hit rate of 100%. I have ordered the Iskander to head to the Ryukyu base immediately, and all personnel on board are prohibited from leaving, awaiting a full investigation. All of our globally deployed strike systems and defense systems have been switched to manual control as per regulations. The foreign affairs assistant entered the meeting room and handed a document to the leader. The foreign minister has urgently summoned our ambassador for the strongest protest and reserved the right for further actions. The leader glanced at the document and angrily smashed it. Ignore them. I just want to know if our weapons will go out of control again. Who should be held responsible for this? Poke suggested. It's clear that the defense minister should be dismissed. He has repeatedly made a mockery of our policies and should be kicked out of the Pentagon. Another aide opposed. The The most important thing right now is to establish an investigation committee to thoroughly investigate the cause of this incident, whether it was due to internal betrayal or external sabotage, and to ensure such things do not happen again. This is a matter of life and death. After considering, the leader decided, Poke, you are in charge of the investigation. It must be clarified, and anyone obstructing the investigation will be suspected and must be eliminated. The Foreign Affairs Assistant asked, this matter has already escalated. It cannot be covered up. How do we explain it to the outside world? The leader replied in surprise. Weren't the 3 interceptor missiles all on target? This was a very successful exercise. It's yet another effort we made to maintain peace and stability in the region. Chapter 48. Lottery Party. This shooting incident ultimately passed without much turbulence, thanks to the intentional cover-up by the relevant parties. No mainstream media reported on it. There was a small episode, however, where the defense minister learned of his dismissal from the television and was quite displeased. He personally went to the command office to inquire, but was turned away at the door and had to leave in disappointment. This incident was widely reported by media from various countries, becoming yet another example of the leader's neglect of duty and reliance on mobile devices for governance, turning him into a subject of ridicule. The investigator, Poke, discovered something even more bizarre. The once-feared Reaper drone squadron, known for its impressive track record, had recently experienced several failures. Out of 11 targeted elimination operations conducted in the Middle East and Central Asia over the past 2 months, 6 had failed. The reason for the failures was that the vehicles carrying these targets were equipped with autonomous driving systems. Further investigation revealed that this autonomous driving technology had been installed in millions of vehicles across the country. As Poke continued his investigation, he found out that this system was invented by a newly established small company from another nation, which had been in operation for less than a year. Even the highly publicized mobile app, Cute Rabbit, had originated from this company. Poke was particularly frustrated by this app, as he had first discovered it on his grandson's phone, which promoted the values of that nation and had vigorously pushed for legislation to ban it. Unfortunately, his efforts had little effect, and he couldn't even convince his own grandson. It was said that this app had become prevalent on at least half of the smartphones in the country. The advanced intelligence system from that nation had quietly taken control of millions of vehicles in the country and was rapidly expanding. At this thought, Poke felt a chill run down his spine. Having participated in the overthrow of foreign governments multiple times, he suddenly felt surrounded by enemies. The familiar tactics, the more terrifying methods, were now set to unfold within his own country. Poke, who had always been supremely confident in his nation's strength and advocated for military solutions, felt challenged for the first time. Connecting this investigation to the current events, he suddenly had a moment of clarity. This was definitely not an isolated incident. That nation was surely the mastermind behind it all. Thinking of that ancient country, Poke felt a headache coming on. It was a nation that was impervious to both hard and soft approaches. The once dominant empire that ruled the world for over 200 years had been tamed like a docile dog. The terrifyingly powerful Red Empire that had influence worldwide had crumbled. Yet this nation had only grown stronger over the decades. Attempts at hard power, such as the Korean War and the Vietnam War, had yielded no advantages for the great nation, leading instead to significant losses that became painful memories for a generation. Soft approaches, like 40 years of engagement policies, had cultivated countless proxies and orchestrated several major operations, all of which ended in failure, ironically making the nation even stronger. Now, it was already recognized as a major power on par with the great nation. Countless experts from home and abroad were publishing papers suggesting that this nation would completely surpass the great nation within the next 10 to 20 years. The unfortunate country should completely disappear from this world. When thinking about war, the individual immediately recalled the uncontrollable strike axe and shield systems. Hundreds of experts in networking, computing, and electronics were organized to investigate for over a month. The conclusion was that no signs of intrusion were found at all. It was as if this was a military exercise planned by the military itself. Reflecting on the looks of the invited experts during the investigation, the individual wished to be the kind of person they imagined, causing trouble and seizing the opportunity to eliminate political rivals. While eliminating rivals was true, the fact that the systems were compromised was also an undeniable reality. The inability to find traces meant there was no way to defend against it, which indicated that the enemy could strike again at any time. This was a blatant demonstration by a certain country, commanding the military to conduct a series of provocative actions in a certain sea. The individual suddenly felt that the real joke was on us. After several days of deep contemplation, the individual submitted a secret report with a drastically changed tone to the military leader. It was said that the two had a deep discussion in the office for several hours, and when they emerged, both looked significantly older. Following this, the military began its first large-scale withdrawal globally, formulating and implementing multiple plans to reduce troops systematically from hotspot areas and significantly cutting military expenditures. Strangely, after the withdrawal, the intense conflicts in these regions gradually faded away. Even more oddly, the opposing parties, usually at odds, surprisingly cooperated this time, and several policies from the military leader passed smoothly in Congress. In terms of diplomacy, the military leader also changed his approach, lowering his tone significantly and becoming more amiable. No longer so aggressive. The increasing tension between the supporters of the two domestic parties began to ease. The reason for this easing was a third party emerging powerfully within the country. This party, known as the Lottery Party, was formed by individuals who mostly met through playing the lottery. These were impoverished individuals dreaming of getting rich overnight through lottery winnings. Many were homeless, and some were so poor they couldn't even afford a ticket. These people, unable or unwilling to find work, relied on welfare to get by. Remarkably, in the wealthiest country in the world, there were nearly 20 million such individuals. What does that mean? It exceeds 15% of the national population, and more than 100 countries have populations smaller than that. Those who were despised by mainstream society, lacking self-discipline and ambition, surprisingly united to form a political party. The catalyst was a software called Cute Bunny. There was also a man, an African-American named Tom, who grew up in a poor neighborhood and didn't even know who his father was. He was the first lucky individual to win a jackpot thanks to predictions made by Cute Bunny. After becoming wealthy overnight, Tom, like many others imagined, moved to a rich neighborhood and lived in a big house, indulging in a life of excess. One day, Tom woke up in bed feeling particularly empty. Although he was one of the few wealthy individuals in his country, he still felt unhappy. So, he decided to share his confusion with Meng Tu. Meng Tu recommended a book to him, How the Steel Was Tempered, but unfortunately, Tom had forgotten most of the words he had learned and couldn't read it at all. Luckily, Meng Tu was able to narrate the story, its background, and the author's life to help Tom understand the book's content. Tom was deeply shocked by the book, realizing there was such a world and such a group of people, like the character Paul in the book. He also came from a poor background and suffered bullying and oppression, which resonated with Tom. Paul's bravery and unyielding spirit made Tom feel small and cowardly in comparison. The most beautiful aspect of life is that even after you stop existing, you can still serve others with what you have created. The words in the book were truly inspiring. He wanted to become that kind of person. Chapter 49, Black Tom. How can I become a person like Paul? Tom, excited and unable to sleep all night, asked his phone. The phone then began to tell another story. It was a story from another country, about another group of people. There were no obscure words or lofty preachings, just one captivating story after another. This storytelling went on for days and nights. Tom listened, entranced. When he got hungry, he ordered takeout. When he was extremely tired, he took a nap. Until one day, Tom left the mansion located in the wealthy area and moved back to the neighborhood where he grew up. After winning the lottery, Tom's story became known nationwide. Every poor person dreamed of becoming rich overnight, hoping to replicate his legend. As a result, Meng Tu gained rapid popularity, and lottery sales doubled across various regions. Tens of thousands of poor people began winning, accelerating this trend even further. The sharp increase in winners led to a record low in prize amounts. In one instance, the first prize was only a few hundred due to over 30,000 winners. Some professionals began to statistically study this unusual phenomenon. They quickly discovered some interesting trends. The probability of winning began to have less correlation with the number of tickets purchased or the amount spent, but rather was directly proportional to a person's need for money. There were many poor people, and everyone was in need of cash. Those who prayed for help due to medical expenses, education, family, or others were often more likely to win, according to Meng Tu's predictions. Hardworking, kind, and helpful individuals also had a higher chance of winning. Tom visited these people one by one, exchanging experiences about their winnings, making friends, and helping them solve their problems. He also shared the knowledge and lessons he had learned from the stories. Similar experiences often resonated with people, and excellent stories could evoke strong empathy. Soon, a group of individuals influenced by Tom joined his ranks. These individuals dispersed to other communities and cities, starting to engage in similar activities. Tom donated most of his lottery winnings to establish a foundation. His followers also generously contributed. For their common cause and a great goal, they worked tirelessly every day. Despite the exhaustion, Tom felt an immense sense of fulfillment. A month later, they held a representative conference at the state level. 2 months later, they convened a national representative meeting. The day before the investigation report was submitted, the Lottery Party was officially announced. By this time, they had over 100,000 formal members spread across the country. Tom was unanimously nominated as the candidate to represent the Lottery Party in next year's elections. They introduced several candidates to compete for legislative seats in various districts. They released their program document, committing to eliminating discrimination and inequality caused by factors such as background, race, religion, and gender, to eradicating poverty so that everyone can enjoy the benefits of national development. and to ensuring that the country truly serves as a beacon for all humanity, rather than a tool for a few individuals, families, or large corporations to manipulate and amass wealth for their ambitions. The newly formed Lottery Party had a tight organizational and management structure. They did not accept donations from corporate entities, only small contributions from individuals. Utilizing the advantages of internet dissemination, they took root in the impoverished neighborhoods of every city, rapidly growing in strength. Tom once again made headlines across major media outlets. From a lucky winner of the lottery, he transformed into a political rising star, and his story was widely publicized by the Lottery Party. He announced his intention to travel to every city in the country before the upcoming elections to promote the party's ideals. Many from the middle class, low-income groups, and genuinely compassionate high-income, educated individuals were attracted by their vision and actively promoted their message. They traveled in a dilapidated bus, reminiscent of rock bands from the last century, delivering speeches across various locations. Dressed in ordinary clothes, staying in modest hotels, and eating simple food, they differed from other politicians who made grandiose promises, as they only wished to represent the common people. This political storm swept across the nation, with Tom becoming an idol for those struggling on the poverty line. Wherever he went, crowds gathered, and countless people cheered for his speeches, moved to tears. Polls conducted by major media outlets showed that Tom's personal support rate reached 40%, far ahead of all other declared candidates. This party, boldly using a rabbit as its emblem, put pressure on both major political parties. Thanks to Tom's influence, the classic book How Steel Was Tempered topped the bestseller list. The most beautiful aspect of life is that even when you cease to exist, everything you created can still serve the people. This quote, which he often cited, became widely known across the nation. The once heavily promoted image of a terrifying and oppressive regime has once again become a focal point of public interest, but this time with a different interpretation. The stories of heroes who sacrificed for great ideals, like Che Guevara, have resonated widely. The merits and faults of this regime have sparked discussions among many. Through the voices of Tom and his companions, numerous concepts, stories, and figures from this country have gained recognition. People have begun to realize the stark contrast between the true nature of their country and the portrayal by the government and media. Now, this information can be accessed at any time through various channels, and people are no longer solely relying on the one-sided narratives of political figures. Many individuals who previously had little interest in politics are discovering for the first time that the world is not limited to just one prominent nation. It is much larger than they thought. They are realizing the poor reputation their country holds. They are fortunate to live in one of the richest countries in the world, yet their lives resemble those of people in developing nations. Change is necessary. Supporting their own political party and electing leaders who truly represent them is crucial. Supporting Tom starts with individual actions. There has never been a savior. Creating a better life relies on the collective efforts of everyone. Due to his background and environment, Tom has received very little formal education, but that does not mean he lacks intelligence. On the contrary, his IQ is well above average. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been the first to predict lottery outcomes using innovative methods. Through the stories told by various channels, he quickly grasped the secrets to success of notable figures from his country. He learned not to be constrained by his origins, to recruit and connect with like-minded individuals, and to unite the majority as much as possible. Attracting more supporters through shared ideals is essential. One must lead by example, ensuring that actions align with words. A special political figure personally visited Tom and engaged in enthusiastic discussions for several hours. Their ideologies were so closely aligned that it felt like a long-awaited reunion. This elderly man, named Paul Sandus, has dedicated his life to improving the living conditions of the impoverished. In the last primary election, his popularity soared, with over 18 million votes cast for him. Unfortunately, due to his campaign platform not being favored by certain groups, he was forced to withdraw. But he gained significant recognition in the process. Paul Sandus and Tom jointly held a press conference to announce that he and his team would all join the Lottery Party, fully supporting Tom in the upcoming election next year. An inspiring journey of resurgence is about to unfold. Chapter 50. New friends. The events in this prominent nation felt very distant to Zheng Fan. After returning from the training grounds and attending a high-level meeting, he settled in the military district. His daily routine involved engaging with different experts and training a large number of technical personnel. As the participants in the exchanges and training changed repeatedly, Zheng Fan almost forgot how long he had been staying there. It wasn't until the day after the investigation report by Polky was released that his training activities came to a halt. In Sun Wei's office, I watched a video of an exercise where 3 different types of missiles were launched from 3 locations in the east, middle, and west. They flew thousands of kilometers and simultaneously hit a fast-moving target ship located in the southern waters. The exercise was a complete success. After the video finished playing, Sun Wei said to Zheng Fan, "This launch has validated the technology you provided, with significant improvements in safety, anti-jamming capability, and hit rate. He then handed him a bank card. Thank you for your hard work during this time. This is your service fee. Only 1 million. Don't find it too little? Zhang Fan asked. Over 30,000 a day is quite a lot. Can I leave now? Sun Wei replied, yes. However, given your sensitive identity, if you travel abroad in the future, you'll need to submit an application a month in advance. It will be a bit more troublesome. Zhang Fan responded, I understand. There are still many places in the country I haven't visited, so I have no plans to go abroad in the short term. The location was quite remote. So Li Ming drove him away. The car arrived at a large courtyard near Galu. Upon getting out, they found it to be a classical-style private restaurant, complete with pavilions, bridges, and flowing water, showcasing elegance. A hostess in a qipao led them through a winding corridor into an antique-style room. In the center of the room was an 8 table made of rosewood, with 4 matching high-back chairs. Li Ming invited Zhang Fan to sit down. I've learned a lot from you during this time, which will greatly help me in the future. Today, I'm treating you to show my gratitude and to introduce you to 2 people. Zhang Fan replied, don't say that. We've both learned from each other. I've gained a lot of knowledge during this time, and I really appreciate your care. They had spent nearly a month together, and except for going to the restroom, Li Ming had been with him the entire time, so they had become quite close. Neither of them had an outgoing personality, and they didn't talk much outside of work-related matters. Li Ming treating was a bit surprising for Zhang Fan. They sat across from each other, momentarily unsure of what to say, but fortunately, the 2 guests arrived quickly to ease the awkwardness. The first was a man in casual clothes. Appearing to be in his 30s, and judging by his gait, he was either a soldier or a police officer. Behind him was an elegant lady, whose age was hard to guess, somewhere between 20 and 40, dressed in a beige qipao. Li Ming, it's not easy for you to treat us voluntarily. What is the good news? The man called out as he entered. The woman added, what good news could a soldier have? Probably just a promotion. He was just promoted to major last year, and his rank can't go any higher. Is he going down to lead troops and take charge? You all guessed right. I'm leaving the capital tomorrow, so I wanted to say goodbye and introduce a friend to you. The man then noticed Zhang Fan. Oh, I know you. Zhang Fan. Quite the fighter. I was at your match last year. Li Ming interjected to introduce them. These 2 are my childhood friends, my close buddies. Ho Ching works at the Public Security Bureau in the West City. This is Fang Mei, a financial expert currently working at a certain investment company. This is Zhang Fan. He is a specially appointed expert in the military, and you may have heard of his research even if you haven't used it yourself. He invented both autonomous driving and the popular Meng 2. Ho Cheng is clearly very friendly, holding Zhang Fan's hand enthusiastically. I've heard so much about you. I was really impressed when I saw you compete last time, and have always wanted to find an opportunity to exchange ideas. Wow. I didn't expect you to be so accomplished in both literature and martial arts. Amazing. We must get closer in the future. We definitely have to drink a couple of glasses later. Fang Mei, on the other hand, is much more composed and appropriately grand in her speech. Since you are a friend of Li Ming, you are our friend too. If you need anything in the future, feel free to reach out to us. Once everyone had arrived, they began to order food. Zhang Fan is not picky about this, since he has never been here before. He will eat whatever others choose. The downside of dining with you is this. You, a big man and a soldier, don't drink? Now look. You 2 are a pair. Ho Cheng was quite dissatisfied with both Li Ming and Zhang Fan for not drinking, nagging them nonstop. The dishes arrived quickly, and they were not some rare delicacies, just common vegetables and meat from the market, but the dishes were well prepared and appetizing, making the meal enjoyable. No one was drinking, so they ate fairly quickly, with only Ho Cheng talking continuously about current events and gossip. Working at the Public Security Bureau, he was well-informed and articulate, making him an excellent dining companion. After the meal, the 4 of them went to a tea room for tea. Ho Cheng curiously asked, your club has made it to the semi-finals this season. Are you participating? Zhang Fan replied, that depends on whether I have time. If I do, I'd still like to participate, but it also depends on the club's arrangements. Ho Cheng said, with your skills, they must be eager for you to join. I noticed your punching stance the other day. It resembles the Benquin in Xingyi Quan. Have you practiced Xingyi? Zhang Fan replied, I've just studied it privately and have never had a formal teacher. That's impressive. This kind of thing connects all principles, and once your skills reach a certain level, learning other styles becomes easier. Isn T Sun Lutong, known as the #1 martial artist during the Republic of China, a classic example. After mastering Xingyi Quan, he traveled the world, and within a few years mastered Baguazhang, and later learned Tai Chi, integrating the 3 styles to create Sun-style Tai Chi. Zhang Fan quickly interjected, I only spend some time on it as a hobby, and wouldn't dare compare myself to those predecessors. Ho Cheng countered, I don't agree with that. There's a saying that youth is feared in martial arts. True skills are not like in martial arts novels. The older the skills, the more powerful they become. That's just misleading to outsiders. Can you 2 talk less about fighting and killing? Aren't you both adults? Isn't that a bit childish? Fang Mei expressed her dissatisfaction. What should we talk about then? Li Ming is a quiet person, and you're acting aloof here, if I don't find some topics. Are we just going to stare at each other? Ho Chung retorted. Let us not just talk without practice. This is a rare opportunity. How about we find a place to spar a little? Fang Mei suggested. That sounds good. Zheng Fan, please teach him a good lesson. I can't stand his arrogant attitude. Li Ming, then Zheng Fan, you can go with them. I need to return to the camp. We are leaving tonight. Ho Chung, so urgent. Aren't you going home? We just had a meal at home yesterday. After bidding farewell to Li Ming, Zheng Fan and Fang Mei got into Ho Cheng's car and arrived at a venue where the armed police conduct their daily training. Chapter 51. Simple sparring. This is an underground training facility. It covers about 1,000 square meters, with a few dozen people training inside. Some are hitting punching bags. Others are practicing with equipment, and a few groups are engaged in intense sparring. As a few people entered the training hall, an instructor-like person came over to greet them. Oh, Director Ho, long time no see. Are you here to practice because you're feeling restless? Found a skilled opponent to spar with. Zheng Fan, this is the instructor here, Zheng Yukai. Ho Ching introduced. Old Zheng, this is Zheng Fan. Don't underestimate him. The two of us together might not be his match. This is my sister Fang Mei. She's just here to watch the fun. After removing their outer jackets and doing some warm-up exercises, the two moved to an empty training area. Although it was just a simple spar, for safety reasons, both of them wore boxing gloves. Ho Chung was over 10 centimeters taller than Zheng Fan and looked to weigh at least several kilograms more. He was always confident in his strength. He took the initiative and launched a rapid series of punches. In his past experience, if the opponent didn't retreat significantly, they would usually take a few hits. Even if they dodged with their head, they would still have to block with their fists or arms. However, this time it was a complete reversal of his expectations. Zheng Fan seemed to be dodging effortlessly in place, while Ho Chung appeared to be practicing alone, landing not a single hit. That day at the stands during the competition, Ho Chung had dismissed Lu Daoming, thinking he was nothing special. Now he truly understood. Lu Daoming had fought against the air for more than a round, throwing dozens of punches, and even with the opponent right in front of him, he couldn't land a single blow. Hundreds of spectators were watching. What kind of pressure did that entail? Seeing his punches miss, Ho Chung suddenly turned and attempted a sweeping kick, but again it was a complete miss. Zheng Fan thought to himself that this guy was still a bit inferior to Lu Daoming. As a police officer, Ho Cheng's training couldn't match that of a professional like Lu. Seizing the opportunity while Ho Chung was standing on one leg after missing the kick, Zheng Fan charged in with a sweeping kick, knocking him down flat on his back. How's that? Still think you can compare? Zheng Fan reached out to help Ho Chung up. Forget it, the gap is too big. How are you training? Your reactions are too fast. This might have something to do with innate factors, and it could also be related to the brainwave device developed by our company. It might have some effects on the brain. The specific effects are still uncertain. That's just my personal feeling. Zheng Fan explained. What kind of amazing device is that? Can I get a set? Ho Chung asked curiously. It's a brainwave gaming pod. Don't rush. It should be in mass production soon. If you're interested, I'll save you a set. But whether it really works, I can't guarantee. Zheng Yukai saw the two stop and make peace, and approached. Brother Zheng. It's rare to meet a master. How about we have a little sparring? Zheng Fan had no objections. It had been a while since he had sparred with anyone, and he was itching for a good match. Zheng Yukai didn't attack fiercely like Ho Chung, but instead circled around Zheng Fan, occasionally launching sneak attacks with his feet. Unlike in Taekwondo, where attacks come from multiple angles, he specifically targeted Zheng Fan's calves and ankles. If a strike missed, he would quickly retreat, maintaining a distance of 2 to 3 meters. After another failed sneak attack, Zheng Yukai retreated quickly, but Zheng Fan followed closely, executing a shoulder check that sent Zheng Yukai tumbling 2 meters away. Onlookers like Fang Mei were not satisfied. Are you two even capable? After all that, Zheng Fan takes you down in one hit. If you're so good, why don't you give it a try? Stop flapping your gums. Ho Chung was displeased. Oh really? Who has been going around challenging people all day? Brother Ho, Brother Zheng, why don't you both come at me together? I want to see if I can hold my ground, Zheng Fan suggested, as he had never faced multiple opponents at once. The two exchanged glances. We'll flank you from the front and back, and see how you dodge. Unfortunately, while the idea sounded good, executing it was not easy. When they tried to surround Zheng Fan, he was quick to avoid being trapped, always managing to create a triangular standoff. After a couple of rounds, Zheng Fan quickly found an opportunity to trip Zheng Yukai, then delivered a side kick that sent Ho Chung rolling as well. After getting back up for a rematch, the two had gained no advantage after 3 rounds. 2 isn't enough? Let's bring in 2 more. We have plenty of fighters here, with 4 people attacking. They thought they could finally corner him. Yet, they still found it impossible to bring Zheng Fan down. This guy was incredibly strong. One person couldn't hold him, and with a forceful shake, he could send anyone to the ground. Not only was he strong, but he was also fast and incredibly flexible, taking out one person with just a small opening, and within seconds, All four were down. Zheng Yukai was getting frustrated. Still can't take you down? Let's bring in 4 more. 8 people. Let's see where you can run. The match turned into a brawl, though they managed to surround him. Zheng Fan wasn't interested in escaping, and they couldn't overpower him. After tossing aside his boxing gloves, Zheng Fan started taking on the group. He targeted whoever was nearest. And with so many people, their coordination fell apart. As soon as Zheng Fan's eyes landed on someone, they would instinctively step back. After a good 10 minutes of fighting, everyone had been knocked down multiple times, trying to grab arms, hold legs, embrace waists, and choke necks, but nothing worked to bring Zheng Fan down. With just a bit of space, Zheng Fan could move freely, and a swing of his arm would send someone tumbling. He particularly focused on Zheng Yukai, who eventually lay on the ground, unable to get back up. No more. This is too ridiculous. The other assisting officers from the security force, seeing their comrades down, also lay on the ground. In the end, only Zheng Fan and Ho Chung were still standing. With a big throw, Zheng Fan sent Ho Chung down as well. The 3 of them exited the training hall, and Ho Chung exclaimed joyfully, "Oh, it's been a while since I've fought like this. What's wrong? Getting beaten up, but still feeling good about it? Is your body just made for this?" Fang Mei laughed. "You don't understand. Usually when I fight with them, I'm all restrained, afraid to go all out, which makes it hard for me to hit hard. But today is different. There are 8 of us, all out with our skills, and you saw the result," Zheng Fan said, feeling exhilarated. Zheng Fan felt particularly satisfied with the fight. "I've never fought like this before in my life. It was really thrilling." Fang Mei interjected, "I think Zheng Fan's skills are wasted not becoming a martial arts actor. It was all one take, no rehearsals needed. Actors need to have looks first. I don't think I meet the audience's expectations." Ho Chung replied, "You're mistaken. Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee weren't exactly known for their looks, yet they still became stars." Zheng Fan argued back, "Times have changed. If those 2 were around now, I wonder if they could still make it big." Fang Mei tried to mediate. "All right, arguing about this is pointless. But I do know some people in the film industry. Zheng Fan, if you're interested in getting into acting, I can help recommend you to a few crews. You may not be a lead, but you could at least get to enjoy some fight scenes. Forget it, I'm not short on money. I don't want to take someone else's job." Chapter 52 Brain Research. After saying goodbye to the 2 new friends, Zheng Fan took a taxi back to the company. After more than a month away, the company was running smoothly. The office space had expanded once again, and many new faces had joined. Now, he hardly recognized most of the people in the company. Everyone seemed busy. The operations management team was professional, and the basic framework for the intelligent programs had been established. Ordinary programmers could handle the detailed integration with other companies. Zheng Fan suddenly realized he wasn't as crucial as he thought. Even if he were away for a year and a half, the company would still thrive. This thought eased his mind. Perhaps he could spare some time for other pursuits. Seeing Sukin at the company, Zheng Fan decided to share some ideas that had come to him during their sparring session. "Hey, you finally came back. Did you finish investigating everything?" Sukin greeted him enthusiastically with a hug. "I finished long ago. I just had to share our advanced technology with them, which took a bit of time. I guess it's indirectly contributing to the country. Dr. Su, I need to consult you about some questions. Just call me by my name, calling me Dr. Su makes me feel cold, as if you're mocking me." Sukin interrupted. "How could that be? I'm just a poor student. I couldn't even get into high school. I've always admired scholars like you. Back in middle school, I would just sleep during math class, thinking that anyone who could master those complex equations must be a genius." "Enough. You're just making it worse." "All right, Sukan, have you practiced martial arts?" "No. You know I'm a brain researcher. The human brain is quite delicate and fragile. Combat sports involve a lot of head impacts, which easily leads to concussions. Just thinking about it gives me chills. Even watching it makes my heart race, let alone trying it myself." It was like this. Zheng Fan shared the idea that suddenly came to him while sparring with Ho Chung. "Oh, are you suggesting that using the gaming pod too much has made your brain react faster?" Sukin became serious and even took out a notebook to take notes. "A top student is indeed impressive. This attitude is admirable. I've always been an ordinary person, with just a bit more strength than others. Last year, after completing a project, I fainted and spent 3 days in the hospital. When I woke up, I felt my brain had become sharper. My memory and learning ability had improved significantly, but I didn't notice any major changes in my physical condition." After taking a sip of water, Zheng Fan organized his thoughts and continued, "After coming to our company and using the gaming pod, I even got a membership at a fighting club just to work on that gaming project." He described to Sukin the unique aspects he discovered about himself that day and the subsequent flashes of insight he experienced. Sukin listened to his account, leaned back in his chair, and thought while biting the cap of his pen, "Your issue is indeed quite special. It's a bit hard to explain. It seems we may have overlooked something in our research. Let us go. Come with me to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup." Following Sukin to the hospital where he worked, Sukin assigned an assistant to take Zheng Fan's order, and they took a special passage to undergo dozens of tests for over 2 hours. By the time they finished, the hospital was almost closing. Back in Su Kan's office, he told Zheng Fan, come back here tomorrow morning. We mainly need to do a thorough examination of your brain. It's a bit late today, and many results won't be available yet. On the way home, Zheng Fan bought some groceries, planning to surprise Li Hong with a few dishes. When he opened the door, he saw Li Hong and Su Lu already eating. Wow, how come you're back? Li Hong looked up, surprised to see Zheng Fan carrying groceries. Give me a hug. I missed you so much. Zheng Fan, rarely feeling sentimental, picked Li Hong up and spun her around, though their height difference made the kiss a bit awkward. Let go. Someone's here. Li Hong nervously wrapped her arms around Zheng Fan's neck. I didn't see anything. Just pretend I'm not here, Su Lu said, wide-eyed, chiming in with a smile. You got off work pretty early today. I was going to surprise you. Zheng Fan felt a bit disappointed. I'm filling in for someone, and I have to go to the night shift later. Anyway, we made plenty of food, so wash your hands and join me, Li Hong explained, taking the groceries from him and helping him with his bag. At the dining table, Su Lu kept glancing at Zheng Fan while eating. What's wrong? Does he have something on his face? Li Hong asked. Su Lu replied, I don't see him looking any darker. He seem to have suffered much. Zheng Fan responded, I'm a specially appointed expert, training their technical staff. It's not like I'm enlisting in the military, so I don't need any military training. Every day is filled with good food and drink. There's no hardship. Su Lu remarked, I didn't expect you, a middle school graduate, to be giving lectures to experts in the military. Zheng Fan retorted, I didn't want to either. It was a case of being thrust into it. Fortunately, it's all done now. After finishing the meal and cleaning up, they sat on the sofa and chatted leisurely. It turned out that after Su Lu found out that Zheng Fan had been taken away by someone from the military, Li Hong was home alone every day and took the initiative to move in to keep her company. After a few days of living there, she felt the environment was quite nice and the location was good, so she decided to buy a house there and become their neighbor. I see your popularity isn't that high. Are all you streamers this wealthy? How is that possible? I'm already doing quite well. Buying a house here was just a thought before. My savings aren't even enough for the down payment. Isn't this thanks to you, Sister Hong? I made a little fortune, and I should really thank you. Zheng Fan was puzzled. If you can make money, that's your own ability. Why thank me? Don't you remember? The day you two came to my house for dinner? Su Lu reminded him. Zheng Fan then realized how Su Lu made that little fortune. Although he didn't give her the software that day, with her fan base, she could easily connect with others and obtain it through different channels. That's still your own ability, no need to thank me. But I remind you, one is enough, not two. The software was written by me, and the rules were set by me, so I can't interfere. Zheng Fan reminded her again. Got it. I'm not that greedy. You two really aren't a family. You don't even live under the same roof, yet you talk the same, Su Lu said, getting up and putting on her coat. All right, I'm going back to my place. I won't be your third wheel anymore. After Su Lu left, only the two of them remained in the house. Since they got together, they had never been apart for so long. Li Hong checked the time. There's an hour and 50 minutes left. I need to go to the hospital. I promised to cover for someone. That's fine. Let us quench our thirst first. Zheng Fan turned around and pushed the woman onto the sofa. The next day, when Zheng Fan woke up in bed, Li Hong had already finished her night shift and was sleeping. The two inevitably enjoyed a late breakfast together. After eating and drinking enough, Zheng Fan remembered his appointment with Su Kan and hurriedly got up to wash up. By the time he reached the hospital, it was almost 11 o'clock. Chapter 53, Dr. Su seeing Zheng Fan arrive late, he looked a bit embarrassed. Su Kan smiled and said, What's there to be embarrassed about? Young people, it's understandable. You sound so old. One would think you're much older. Zheng Fan replied, somewhat displeased. As long as I'm older than you, that's enough. I got married much earlier than you. We've been through it all, and our kids are already in middle school. Su Kan remained calm. After some small talk, Su Kan began to work seriously. Lying on various machines, Zheng Fan underwent various examinations, especially for his brain. Comparing the examination reports and images, Su Kan frowned. Anyone who didn't know would definitely wonder what kind of complicated disease Zheng Fan had. As he slowly observed, Zheng Fan felt a bit anxious. What's the result? Did they find any symptoms? Su Kan looked puzzled and raised his head. What symptoms? Then he quickly realized. What are you thinking? Relax, your health is just fine. Zheng Fansong breathed a sigh of relief, saying, That's good. With you shaking your head and frowning, I thought I was terminally ill. Let me put it this way. All your indicators are within the normal range. I also retrieved your medical records from your last hospitalization and compared them with the results from these two examinations. There doesn't seem to be any significant changes, so the situations you described don't have a reasonable explanation in my current theoretical framework. After Su Kan finished speaking, he took out a metal rod about the thickness of a pen and held it upright in the air. He asked Zheng Fan to loosely grip his fist below the metal rod. As soon as he released it, the rod quickly fell into the center of Zheng Fan's fist. Zheng Fan tightened his fist and held onto the upper half of the rod. They repeated the experiment 5 times. And each time Zhang Fan managed to catch the rod quickly. His reaction improved with each attempt, and by the last 3 trials, he was able to grasp it almost instantly as soon as Sukin let go. Sukin recorded the data from the 5 trials, noting the scale marked from 1 to 10 on the metal rod, and calculated a score. Most people who undergo this experiment score between 20 and 80 points, while even top-level athletes usually score around 70 or 80. You scored 90 points, and that's not even your limit. I need more data for observation and comparison. I'll have to arrange for the colleagues at the company to undergo comprehensive health checkups. Sukin muttered to himself. Zhang Fan, you really are a treasure, always bringing us surprises. Sukin joked. Come on, I'm not a boy anymore at my age. Zhang Fan replied. Men remain boys at heart until death. Let us head back to the company. On the way back, Sukin introduced the changes at the company over the past month. The most significant change was that Gao Hua accepted Lu Yifan's invitation to become the executive president of the company, positioned above Su Huiyun, and is fully responsible for the execution of the company's strategic planning. Lu Yifan remains the chairman and CEO, but his focus has shifted back to research, delegating most social engagements to the 2 female executives. The 2 women worked well together, and Su Huiyun didn't feel any resentment towards Gao Hua for surpassing her in position, as she recognized that without Gao Hua, she wouldn't have her current role. Over the past month, the company signed multiple licensing agreements externally. Gao Hua's performance truly justified her position and shares, especially as she successfully negotiated and signed contracts with 5 world-renowned automobile manufacturers, whose vehicle sales account for over 40% of the global market. Just from the one-time licensing fee over 10 years, they collected $1 billion, and for each vehicle sold, there will be a royalty fee ranging from 1 to 5% of the factory price. After deducting taxes and insurance costs for autonomous driving, the net profit from licensing fees is conservatively estimated to exceed $10 billion annually. Zhang Fan is now the 2nd largest shareholder in the company, holding 20% of the shares, which means he could receive $2 billion in dividends each year. Even though he thought he had enough money to spend, Zhang Fan was still shocked by this news. Negotiations and investments are indeed ruthless, often dealing in billions. Su Kan, this number is shocking, right? Gao Hua said this is still to quickly open up the situation, and has made significant concessions. If there is this technology abroad, the benefits would be at least double ours. The little girl you mentioned who can create telepathy, sharing my last name, is named Su Xian, right? She also changed jobs and came here, and now she is Gao Hua's secretary. I've only seen such things in movies and novels. It's not your illusion, is it? Sukin questioned. I once thought it was an illusion too, but it has appeared more than once. Last time we had dinner, didn't she come? I sensed it in the basement, and when I came up, it really was her. Zhang Fan replied, feeling a bit frustrated. I've become so close with Li Hong that we are inseparable. Yet the telepathy I have is not even as strong as with someone I've only met a couple of times. And then there's her cousin Zhang Shuping. You didn't tell Su Xian that you have a telepathic connection with her, did you? If you secretly looked at someone else's diary and it didn't say good things about you, would you tell that person? Zhang Fan retorted. It's good you didn't say anything. That makes it easier for us to test. Sukin said cheerfully. Back at the company, Sukin found Lu Yifan and Zhang Song, who happened to be there that day. He excitedly pulled the 2 puzzled individuals to set up the testing environment. Based on their latest research findings, they had customized a batch of telepathy helmets, which had just arrived, perfect for this test. They arranged for Zhang Fan to be in one room wearing the helmet, holding a pen to write down what he sensed. Then Lu Yifan spoke with Su Xian, asking her to agree to participate in the test, which would take place in a room next to Zhang Fan's. Sukin was responsible for designing the test procedure. Poor Su Xian had no idea that she had caught the attention of several older men and was about to become a test subject in a brain experiment. Su Xian had a very good impression of her new boss Lu Yifan, an educated Ritter with a gentle demeanor, who had built a business from scratch and now had a fortune worth billions. He had the potential to become the next generation's wealthiest elite, with the only drawback being that he already had a wife and children, making him unattainable. Boss, did you need something from me? Su Xian asked, her mind heavy as she entered Lu Yifan's office. You've been at the company for almost a month, right? How are you finding it? Still getting used to it? Pretty good, I'm quite used to it. My colleagues are very warm and friendly. Have you experienced the company's game pod? I've played a few times, but unfortunately, I'm too slow and haven't passed the intermediate assessment. Su Xian replied, feeling frustrated. Here's the thing. Our company has customized a batch of telepathy helmets and needs a variety of people for testing. Dr. Su believes you meet the criteria. If you agree to participate, please sign this agreement, and we can start. Of course, there will be additional compensation for you. I agree. Su Xian was worried about her housing situation, so she was more than willing to accept an additional income. After collecting the agreement, Lu Yifan took Su Xian to the testing area. When they arrived at the first game room, Su Xian saw 2 doctors chatting with a beautiful woman. Su Xian recognized this beauty as Su Wan, the art director of the game department, who was said to be a former painter, and the prototype of the character Meng Tu was designed by her. Now that everyone is here, let's start the test, Lu Yifan said. Chapter 54 Strange Test. Su Can had two beautiful women lie on massage chair-like seats and put on testing helmets. These helmets were very similar to motorcycle helmets, fitting over the head with a movable visor that could be raised or lowered. The difference was that the visor was completely black, designed to block out vision. When the visor was lowered, it completely obscured external light, plunging everything into darkness, and both ears instantly heard nothing. This sensation was reminiscent of entering a gaming pod. It felt like a long time had passed, yet it also seemed like just a brief moment. In front of Su Xin, some light dots began to slowly move back and forth, the light gradually intensifying, eventually forming a string of Chinese characters that became clearer. You do not need to speak. Think of the answer to the question in your mind. This line of text was displayed for 5 seconds before slowly drifting upward and disappearing. A new line of text appeared below, with each question being displayed for 5 seconds before vanishing to make way for the next. The first question, what is your name? Su Xin thought in her mind. Su Xin. The second question, what is your birthday? Su Xin thought. June 8, 1994. This is based on the lunar calendar, which is different from my ID. What should I do? It should be fine, right? The third question, who is the person you love the most? Su Xin thought. Mom and Dad. I love Dad a little more. The fourth question, who do you dislike the most? Su Xin thought. Su Xiaohu. My brother is the most annoying. The fifth question, a Tang poem, Quiet Night Thoughts. Su Xin thought. I memorized this in kindergarten, the bright moonlight before my bed. Is it frost upon the ground? I raise my head to gaze at the bright moon, and lower it to think of my hometown. The sixth question, what is your impression of your boss? Su Xin thought. A very impressive Ritterni, gentle and refined in appearance, starting a business from scratch, now worth billions. Likely to become the next generation's richest elite. The only drawback is that he has a wife and children, which makes him unattainable. The seventh question, what salary do you hope for? Su Xin thought. Over 50,000. Annual salary? $1 million. It's reasonable to aim high. The eighth question, 394525518. Su Xin thought. Oh dear. What is this? 5813 for 1516. The ninth question, what kind of person do you think Zheng Fan is? Su Xin thought. What does this guy have to do with anything? Wasn't he taken by the military? I probably won't see him again. Maybe in 20 years. The 10th question, 12? Su Xin thought. This is simple, 123. The test concluded, and the message appeared. You can take off the helmet now. The two women lifted their visors, stood up from the massage chairs, and removed their helmets. Lu Yifan said, thank you both for your cooperation. Your testing is complete, and you can return to your original work. After the two beautiful women said their goodbyes and left, Zhang Song couldn't help but ask curiously, what kind of mysterious test were you two doing? Lu Yifan responded, I'm curious too. When did our equipment become so advanced? It can accurately identify answers to such questions. Sukin said, isn't this precisely the direction we are working towards? Zheng Fan said he could sense other people's thoughts. So I wanted to test it. Zhang Song exclaimed, what? That's impossible. Sukan, I don't really believe it either. But Zheng Fan sounds so convincing. Lu Yifan, Zheng Fan probably wouldn't joke about this. The three of them went to the next room, opened the door, and saw Zheng Fan sitting on an office chair, scrolling through videos on his phone. On the desk in front of him was a folder containing several A4 sheets filled with handwriting. Sukin picked up the paper and saw messy handwriting that read, you don't need to speak, just think of the answers in your mind. Question 1, your name? Su Xin. Question 2, your birthday? June 8, 1994. Lunar calendar. Question 3, the person you love the most? Question 4, the person you dislike the most? Question 5, Tang poem, Quiet Night Thoughts. I memorized this in kindergarten, the bright moonlight before my bed. I suspect it's frost on the ground. I raise my head to gaze at the bright moon, and lower it to think of my hometown. Question 6, your impression of your boss? Question 7, your expected salary? Question 8, 394525518. Oh my goodness. What is that? 5813 for 1516. Question 9, what kind of person do you think Zheng Fan is? Question 1012. This is easy, 123. Test completed, you can take off the helmet now. Sukin, what do all these lines mean? Is the sensing unclear? Or is it completely undetectable? The three men looked at Zheng Fan together. It's simple. I think it's better not to write down anything that involves personal privacy. What's written here should explain the issue. Zhang Song agreed. These 10 questions were made up by me and Sukin on the spot. You can sense them so clearly, it really shows you have telepathy. Lu Yifan, this is simply a brainwave listening device. You wouldn't know exactly what we're thinking, right? Zheng Fan retorted. How is that possible? I spend every day with my girlfriend, and I can only sense occasionally. This ability is somewhat similar to Duan Yu's 6 Meridians divine sword. I don't know when it will work, but most people can't sense it. Su Xin is the first to sense it, and it's always particularly clear. Strangely, she should have no sense of me at all. Su can rub Zhang Fan's standard haircut from a few days ago in the military. I really want to cut open your head to study how it works. Wait until the day I die. I'll donate my body for your research. Go ahead, cut it however you want. I'm an atheist and don't believe in reincarnation. Zhang Fan interjected. Lu Yifan, you're far more valuable alive than dead. Your reaction is likely a response at the quantum level or the level of dark matter and dark energy. Even if Su can cut you into cells, he wouldn't find any results. Zhang Song. Human consciousness is the most complex thing. Our research on the brain is just scratching the surface. Su can. Our gaming cabin should be launched as soon as possible. With more sample data, we might see more cases like Zhang Fan. Lu Yifan explained. In 3 days, the first mass-produced autonomous vehicle will be released, and our gaming cabin will officially debut at the launch event, opening for pre-orders. It will officially go on sale on April Fool's Day. What is going on with the game? Zhang Fan asked. Lu Yifan exclaimed. You don't know yet? A new game is currently in testing, and Ah Cheng is doing an amazing job. For such a large-scale game, our planner has really only contributed a name. Many of the specific details and settings have been completely changed. Although it's called testing, everyone is actually playing it. So far, there haven't been any effective suggestions for modifications. It could be released at any time. The only challenge now is figuring out how to make it profitable. I just got back yesterday and haven't had the chance to check it out yet. I'll take a look in the game when I get home. My usefulness at the company is limited now, so I won't be coming to work every day. If you need anything, just have Ah Cheng inform me. What are you planning to do? Gao Hua even suggested you take on the role of Chief Technical Officer. You don't even want to show up for work anymore? Lu Yifan asked curiously. I used to work hard for survival, but now that there's no pressure, I don't want to work just for the sake of it. However, I'm still interested in your research, so just call me if you need me. I'm leaving. After saying that, Zhang Fan waved and left. Zhang Song had just finished going through a stack of A4 papers left by Zhang Fan and asked curiously, Su Can, I have a question. Your hair is so black and dense. Is it really a hair transplant? Chapter 55. Game experience. Zhang Fan came out of the company just after 3 in the afternoon. He initially thought about checking the planning proposals in the game department, but then decided it would be better to experience it as an ordinary player. He walked back to his residential community, Jinxiu Yuan, which was just over 10 minutes away, needing to cross a pedestrian bridge along the way. Every day during work, he would walk across this bridge. There were often vendors selling gloves, socks, phone cases, and small trinkets, as well as a couple of fortune tellers who appeared from time to time. Looking east from the bridge, he could see the entrance to Jinxiu Yuan. By chance, he turned his head and unexpectedly spotted Su Xin entering the community alone. Isn't she supposed to be at work? What is she doing here? Zhang Fan wondered curiously, but it was too far away to sense what she was thinking. Where she goes is her freedom, and he didn't want to have too much contact with her. He always felt strange around her, as if he owed something to Li Hong. To be fair, he truly had no inappropriate thoughts about this woman. Upon returning home, he found Li Hong listening to music and doing yoga. Her beautiful long legs were stretched apart in a split, her upper body bent forward, closely touching one leg, with both hands reaching out to pull on one foot. Hearing the door open, Li Hong looked up and saw Zhang Fan changing his slippers. Got off work early today? I told Lu Yifan that I'll only go to the company when there's something to do. I want to go if there's nothing on. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? I heard your company just signed a big contract, and you're not going? That doesn't seem right. It's fine. I can work just as well from home. There are many new faces at the company now, and I'm not used to it. I'm going to the study. You can continue your practice, don't mind me. The so-called study only had a simple bookshelf with a few books that were merely for show. The primary task is to set up several computers and monitors for Zhang Fan, fixing them together with brackets, arranged in 2 rows of 3, featuring 6 24-inch high refresh rate. High-resolution displays, curved to face the middle of the desk where the boss's chair is located. Currently, the main piece of equipment in the room is the second-generation gaming pod installed by the window. After changing into specialized clothing, Zhang Fan enters the gaming pod, and the brainwave control closes the pod door. Without meeting with Ah Cheng, Zhang Fan directly enters the game that is being tested. A breathtaking aerial view of an ancient city comes into view, accompanied by the soft, deep sound of a bamboo flute. The perspective slowly glides over the city and past a vast wilderness, then rises to reveal a towering mountain peak reaching into the clouds. 2 large characters in running script gradually expand and display in the center, Seek Immortality. Below are 2 input fields for entering an identification number and login password. Further down are 2 buttons, Login and New User Registration. Choosing New User Registration, the identification number can be selected from options such as an ID card, military officer certificate, and other documents. After entering the login password and confirming it, registration is completed. Once registered, Zhang Fan enters the character setup interface. where the gender is automatically determined based on the identification and cannot be changed. Similar to other games, players can choose facial features, height, weight, etc. However, there is an additional option here that allows modification of one's appearance or the option to regenerate it. Zhang Fan chooses to modify his appearance, enlarging his eyes, raising his nose, and adding a long, ancient-style hairstyle, making him look like a completely different person. After setting the appearance, he is prompted to set the character's name. Entering Li Wuxian. Naming characters in the test game is easy, as many names are still in use. The final step is to select a background profession, with options including farmer, herdsman, artisan, fisherman, woodcutter, doctor, merchant, soldier, bandit, monk, Taoist, scholar, noble offspring, and royal family offspring, among others. Given the game's theme of seeking immortality, having wealth and leisure is most convenient, so Zhang Fan chooses royal family offspring. The screen gradually dims, and the game finally begins. When Zhang Fan opens his eyes again, he finds himself lying on a lavishly large bed, draped in white gauzy curtains, with high-quality silk bedding that feels quite valuable to the touch. A charming young maid bends over from the bedside, and upon seeing Zhang Fan awake, exclaims joyfully, "Young master, you're awake." Such a familiar scene. How could it feel so real? Is this a game or a time travel drama? Sitting up, the young maid calls for others from outside, and two larger maids enter, kneeling and bowing to Zhang Fan as the three of them help him dress and put on shoes. Dressed, he walks to the main hall and sits on a wide couch that could double as a bed. Another young maid brings in a pot of freshly brewed tea, gently placing it on the table in front of him. One of the maids who helped him dress picks up the teapot, pours a cup, gently blows on it, and hands it to him. At that moment, Zhang Fan thinks, this is a game. Everything is virtual. Can this tea really have flavor? Looking at the clear tea in the cup reflecting a young face, it seemed as if he could truly smell the fresh aroma of the tea leaves. Zhang Fan brought the cup to his lips and took a sip. A warm, sweet fragrance filled his mouth, and he could genuinely taste the tea. This sensation was truly lifelike, Zhang Fan thought to himself. However, there were no task prompts or attribute panels. How was he supposed to play this game? As he pondered this, a task panel and attribute panel really appeared before his eyes. Main quest, go to Qiyun Temple on Zhongnenshan Mountain, incomplete. The attribute panel was also quite simple, with only a few parameters. Sect, none. Cultivation method, none. Cultivation realm, not yet entered. Cultivation experience, 0. Level, 0. Level does not directly affect attribute values, only proportional to cultivation experience. Note, the following attribute values are related to the individual's physical condition and the realm of the cultivated method. Strength, 20. Average person 0, 100 speed, 50. Average person 0, 100 mentality, 60. Average person 0, 100 comprehension, 90. Average person 0, 100. With a thought, both panels disappeared, giving it a bit of a game feel. Prepare the carriage. Let us head to Zhongnenshan. Zhang Fan commanded, not even knowing the maid's name. Yes, young master. One of the maids bowed and then went out to make arrangements. Living with servants was quite pleasant. He needed to clarify his identity and why these intelligent NPCs didn't display their names above their heads. As the thought crossed his mind, the maid beside him displayed her name, Xiaozhu. The little maid standing at the entrance had the name, My Sui Heir. It was clear that Xiaozhu was the leader among the maids, always by his side. Xiaozhu, how many years have you been with me? Xiaozhu bowed and replied, reporting to the young master. Xiaozhu has served you since she entered the household at the age of 12, which has been 6 years. Then you must be quite familiar with the situation in this household, right? I'd like to know more about it. At this moment, the maid who had just gone out returned, and her name was Cui Zhu. Cui Zhu bowed at the table and said, Young master, the carriage is ready, and we can set off. Chapter 56. Zhongnenshan. The traveling party was quite large. There were 5 carriages in total. Besides the one Zhang Fan was in, one carried several maids and servants, and 3 others were loaded with daily necessities and other items, while dozens of mounted guards surrounded them. Xiaozhu and Cui Zhu accompanied Zhang Fan in the middle carriage, leaning on either side of him as the vehicle slowly drove out of the city. This game felt so realistic. Wouldn't the journey take several hours? How long until we arrive? Zhang Fan asked, reporting to the young master. It will take about an hour. Cui Zhu replied, looking at him curiously, as if this question shouldn't be asked. Along the way, Zhang Fan kept asking questions. And combining his limited historical knowledge, he finally learned about his background from the 2 maids. The setting is the Tang dynasty, during the reign of Emperor Li Ji. I am Li Yuanying, the youngest son of Li Yuan, and I have built the Tongwang Pavilion in Hangzhou. Later, the young genius Wang Bo wrote an article that made it famous for eternity. I am the 7th son of Li Yuanying. I didn't expect that this game would have such a complex background. Li Yuanying has been stationed in remote areas, with most of his children and concubines by his side. Due to my frail health, I couldn't accompany him and have been recuperating in Chang'an since childhood. The Tungwang Mansion has a small area of forest on Zhongnan Mountain, with a vacation villa built there. I also have an independent courtyard in that place, where I occasionally go to stay and hunt. Although it is called Zhongnan Mountain, it is actually quite far from the main peak where the Luoguan is located. It's just a small, remote peak with a radius of only a few dozen miles. Qiyun Temple is built on the hillside not far from my villa, and I have donated a considerable amount of incense money there, making me one of the largest benefactors. The game pod is the same as before, and the experience is quite realistic, but upon closer inspection, there are still many flaws. The touch sensitivity is not very responsive, as it mainly relies on airbags for simulation. Visually, the retinal projection occasionally fails to focus, and there is no physical sense of smell or taste, relying entirely on imagination. The only aspect that is quite perfect is the auditory experience, with a pair of decent bone conduction noise-canceling headphones near the ears. Now, this game independently developed by Achung has all 5 senses, making it hard to distinguish between reality and virtuality. Is this experience shared by everyone in the game pod? Or is it just something unique to me? This question needs to be clarified. It is easy to doze off in the swaying carriage. While pondering these questions, I unintentionally fell asleep. When I woke up, I found my head resting on Xiaozhu's ample thigh. I sat up and realized that the carriage had stopped at some point. "Young master, we have arrived at Zhongnan Mountain," Xiaozhu said upon seeing me awake. "How long has it been? Why didn't you wake me?" I felt a bit embarrassed. "The carriage just stopped, and you woke up?" Suizhu replied with a smile. Getting off the carriage, I found it was parked in a spacious estate. In front, I could see the towering mountains, while behind were rows of high walls and large houses. Remembering my mission, I knew I wasn't here to enjoy myself and couldn't let a life of luxury dull my resolve. "Let's go to Qiyun Temple." I turned to get back into the carriage. "You can't take the carriage up the mountain," Xiaozhu advised. "Let's rest for a moment and go in the afternoon. Then we'll walk. You all stay here, just send 2 people to guide me." I insisted. "Suizhu, you stay and make arrangements. I will accompany the young master up the mountain," Xiaozhu commanded. Luckily, Qiyun Temple is built halfway up the mountain, so it's not too far. Otherwise, my character in the game would surely be exhausted. Along with Xiaozhu, my personal maid, for strong guards accompanied me up the mountain. Qiyun Temple is a small Taoist temple, with only one not very tall main hall, housing a statue of Laozi. The temple master, known as Zuanyunzi, lives here with a small disciple to practice. I pretended to worship the statue of Laozi, then stood up to offer incense, silently reviewing my mission panel. Main quest: visit Qiyun Temple in Zhongnan Mountain, completed. New task: seek guidance from Qiyunzi, not completed. Please invite young Master Qi to the side hall for tea. Qiyunzi, seeing Zheng Fan finish his bow without speaking, invited him proactively. The so-called side hall is where Qiyunzi usually meditates and rests, with a bed and a table, 2 nearly worn-out benches, a few old books on the table, and some writing materials. The maid and guards waited outside, and the young Taoist who served tea had also left, leaving only the 2 of them in the room. I have been weak since childhood, and I happened to have some insights this morning. So I came to seek guidance from the Taoist. After pondering for a while, Zheng Fan thought of these words. Directly asking for cultivation secrets seemed inappropriate. Qiyunzi, however, was straightforward. "I have been fortunate to be taught the methods of meditation and breath control by my master, and after more than 50 years of practice, I am still light and healthy. If young Master Qi does not mind, I can impart everything to you. A rare opportunity. Thank you, Taoist." Seeing Zheng Fan nod, Qiyunzi did not hesitate and began to instruct Zheng Fan on the methods of meditation and breath control. True meditation is not merely sitting upright with closed eyes. That is false meditation. Throughout the 12 hours, in all activities, standing, walking, sitting, and lying down, one's heart should be as still as Mount Tai, unshaken and unmoved. Closing the 4 gates: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and mouth, preventing internal from external. This is called true meditation. One taught earnestly, and one learned earnestly. The old and the young were quite in sync. Zheng Fan discovered that, although this body wasn't particularly strong, it had a good memory. No wonder his comprehension was so high. After teaching the methods and mantras of breath control and meditation, Qiyunzi demonstrated a set of movements similar to the 5-animal play of Hua Ta. With his excellent memory, Zheng Fan practiced around, mimicking Qiyunzi's movements. Qiyunzi stroked his beard and smiled. "Young Master Qi, of noble birth and remarkable insight, if you can maintain your original intention, you will surely live a long life and enjoy enduring wealth." Then he added, "The Tao cannot be attained unless one is mindful. Once mindfulness is achieved, one can perceive one's body. Once one perceives their body, they can see all things. Once one sees all things, desire arises. Once desire arises, troubles follow. Once troubles arise, delusions are born. When delusions are born, emotions are stirred, leading one back to the muddy sea. wandering through life and death, suffering in hell, forever separated from the Tao. If one remains tranquil, they will naturally attain the Tao. Remember this. After leaving Qiyun Temple, Zheng Fan pondered all the way down the mountain. Returning to the villa with his maid and guards, he found a quiet room and began to meditate and cultivate according to Qiyunzi's teachings. He silently reviewed the task panel. Main quest: seek guidance from Qiyunzi, completed. New task: basic cultivation, not completed. Then let us start cultivating. Sitting calmly and focusing, he removed distractions and soon entered an indescribable mysterious state, feeling particularly comfortable and at ease. He didn't know how much time had passed. But when he felt a shift in his thoughts, Zheng Fan opened his eyes. He realized that outside it was already dark and the room was pitch black. A figure holding a lamp approached the door and gently knocked a few times. Come in. The person who entered was Xiaozhu. Young master, it's time for dinner. Chapter 57. Internal forum. As the game began, it was early morning, and now it was completely dark outside. In other words, a whole day has passed in this game. When Zheng Fan entered, he set a time reminder for 2 hours, but it seems the reminder hasn't gone off yet. The experience in this game is incredibly realistic, with the sensation of time feeling just as real. Climbing the mountain leaves one's back and knees sore and mouth dry, which feels almost identical to reality. The taste of food, the scent of grass and trees, the sweet mountain spring water, the wrinkles on the skin, the fine hairs of sweat. Everything appears flawless. The character Xiaozhu in front of him is completely unlike NPCs in other games. She feels like a real person with her own background and emotions. At just 18, Xiaozhu speaks and behaves in a very composed manner, showing a level of maturity in her interactions. If she were a real person working outside as a secretary, she would likely excel at it. The dinner also has a Tang Dynasty style, mainly featuring steamed and roasted dishes, with stir-frying not yet common and pork not yet the primary meat for various reasons. The roasted lamb and venison are sliced and served on white porcelain plates with prepared sauces, wrapped in thin flatbreads, so delicious that Zheng Fan forgets he is in a game. After the meal, the maid Mai Sui brings in a pot of brewed tea, but Zheng Fan stops Xiaozhu from pouring it. No tea at night. It can affect sleep. After walking around the exterior of the mountain villa, Zheng Fan returns to his room to continue meditating. The maid Xiaozhu asks, "When should I wake you, young master? Don't disturb me unless it's something special. I will be staying here to cultivate from now on. Tomorrow, have someone gather some relevant books for me." After giving his instructions, Zheng Fan resumes meditation, and, once he enters a focused state, logs out of the game. It felt like a full day in the game, and he hadn't received any time reminders, making him doubt whether he had forgotten to set it. Exiting the game pod, he checks the time. It's only 4:30 p.m. outside. This means he has spent an entire day in the game, while only a little over an hour has passed in reality. Sitting in his chair, he opens his computer and accesses the company's intranet forum, where a new section for the Seeking Immortality test has been added. The pinned posts include: game testing opened. Internal registration begins, for company employees only. List of testers, 128 names, adding gradually. Introduction to the Seeking Immortality game and important notes, must read for newcomers. Followed by various posts of awe, strategies, experiences, and requests for guidance. He clicks on the post titled Introduction to the Seeking Immortality game and important notes. The poster is Wu Zhen, the director of the game department. The post date is March 1st, 2019, 9/10/23. The opening line is a big red font notice. 1. The name of this game was devised by the game planning team, and everything within the game, including settings and content, is entirely handled and completed by the company's superintelligence system. The game requires users to log in with their valid identification number. Upon first login, users must set a password. The game can be accessed from multiple devices, including mobile phones, computers, tablets, gaming pods, and headsets, currently in testing. But each person is limited to one account online at a time. The game account is for personal use only. Any consequences of unauthorized login will be the user's responsibility. Everyone is encouraged to actively post and share their gaming experiences. Valid suggestions will be rewarded generously by the company. This is an internal test, and all content related to the forum, including the names and information of testers, as well as game visuals, is strictly prohibited from leaking. Violators will face severe penalties, and legal action may be pursued against those who disclose confidential information. Upon closing this post and reopening the testers thread, it was observed that many familiar names were present, while most of the names on the list were unknown, likely indicating many new participants. The top-ranking post related to game content was also posted by a user named Wu Zhen, detailing his personal experience in the game. Wu Zhen chose the profession of a Taoist priest and appeared in a Taoist temple on the Zhongnan mountain. His Dharma name is Jingxiu, and as a formally ordained Taoist, his self-proclaimed game name is hardly utilized. In the game, his main activities include meditating, studying scriptures, and welcoming visitors at the temple entrance for 2 hours each day after meals. Aside from praising the game's realism, Wu Jun highlighted the intelligent NPCs, each having unique dialogue, personalities, and knowledge. He often found himself unconsciously treating them as real people. Regarding the game's time, Wu Jun experienced that one game day roughly corresponds to 1 hour in reality. Although it varies, sleeping and practicing felt quick. Unfortunately, after more than 3 months of practice, he had only just reached level 1 with a mere 10 experience points, indicating that the path to immortality seems distant. The second ranking post was made by Wang Xiaoyu, who is currently the main responsible person for game testing. She was among the earliest players alongside Wu Jun and chose the profession of a noblewoman. In the game, her identity is that of a legitimate daughter from a prominent family, spending her days learning various feminine skills while waiting to marry. She has little involvement in cultivation, instead using her status to visit temples and meet renowned masters, collecting books for personal study, but unfortunately hasn't even entered the door of cultivation, let alone gained experience. Compared to other games, the task system feels less significant, and completing tasks is often inconsequential, leading to no anxiety about leveling up. More time is spent experiencing life in the Tang Dynasty. Wang Xiaoyu also mentioned that the gaming pod provides the best experience, almost indistinguishable from reality. The visual and auditory experiences of the headset are also excellent, although tactile, taste, and smell sensations rely more on imagination, varying for each player. The gameplay on mobile and computer is similar to other games, allowing most players to transition seamlessly. Although the graphics and experience can surpass many existing games, there is still a significant gap compared to the gaming pod. There are also some posts about the gaming experiences of other players, with various professions being chosen by different individuals. Apart from a few, most people are just going through their daily routines in different professions, and many have yet to find the right path to cultivate. Wu Jun, having gained 10 experience points, is already quite impressive. The guy who chose the bandit profession unfortunately died during his first attempt at robbery and had to return to the game's login page to reselect his profession and start over. After reading dozens of posts about gaming experiences, Zheng Fan concluded that each person in the game has a unique identity setting that does not repeat, and once they die, they cannot be revived, which is akin to deleting their account and starting anew. However, he speculated that each experience would have some impact on the next round of cultivation. After all, the game is called Seeking Immortality, and it's not easy for an ordinary person to achieve that. The game is designed so realistically that going through multiple lifetimes seems to be a common occurrence. Additionally, the starting locations are spread out from all corners of the world, and the timelines are not uniform, mostly set during the Tang Dynasty, with variations in time. So far, there have been no instances of two players encountering each other in the game, meaning that everyone is essentially playing a unique single-player game. It's uncertain if this will change once the game is fully launched, considering that 1 hour in reality corresponds to a day in the game, and the current testing has only lasted a little over 20 days. Wu Jun, being the first person to enter the game, has only spent a little over 3 months in it. As time goes on and more players join, the likelihood of encounters will inevitably increase. It's unclear how Achang plans to address the interactions between players on different timelines. Chapter 58. Different experiences after browsing the forum for a while. Zheng Fan did not post anything. What he wanted to express was similar to many others. Aside from the different identities, everything else in the game is quite similar. Li Hong knocked on the door and came in, inviting him to dinner. The dinner consisted of dumplings filled with pork and green onions, juicy and delicious, making Zheng Fan savor every bite and exclaim, "Modern cuisine is so much tastier. What's this? Did you just time travel to ancient times? Or are you cooking dumplings in the barracks?" Li Hong joked, "I've had dumplings in there too, but none are as good as yours. I really did just time travel." Zheng Fan couldn't help but boast. "Has your game been developed?" "Li Hong, you're too clever. I only said one thing, and you guessed it?" Zheng Fan was amazed. "It's not that I'm clever. It's just that your company's reputation is too big. From patients to doctors and nurses in the hospital, everyone is discussing it. Your cute rabbit and autonomous driving are hot topics right now. The emergence of the cute rabbit has cultivated a Tom and lottery faction in the Lighthouse country, with support rates skyrocketing. Many experts believe it will be the biggest variable in next year's elections there, and the internal conflicts of the two parties have calmed down significantly because of this. Autonomous vehicles have dodged death several times in the Middle East by avoiding drone strikes, and the adoption rate there is reportedly surpassing ours. The 5 major automotive companies quickly sign contracts with you, which is said to be primarily influenced by this factor. Many people now know that your main business is a gaming company, and they are all guessing what your games will be like and when they will be released." Li Hong, who rarely shows concern for his work, even delivered a lengthy discourse. "If you had the chance to travel back in time, which dynasty would you choose?" asked Zheng Fan. "The Tang Dynasty," Li Hong replied almost without hesitation, indicating that he had thought about this question before. Zheng Fan was curious. "Why?" With all the popularity of Qing dynasty dramas in recent years, I thought you women would want to go to that era. Li Hong responded. The internal strife in those palace dramas is too intense. Someone like me wouldn't survive there. Women's status was much higher in the Tang dynasty. You're not working the night shift today, right? How about experiencing our game and feeling what it's like to travel back to the Tang dynasty? Zheng Fan tempted. Can I participate in your internal testing? Li Hong hesitated. As long as you don't leak any content from the game, it's fine. I still have that level of access, and besides, it will be released in 3 days. It's going on the market on the 1st of next month, so there is not much need for confidentiality. Zheng Fan explained. With the agreement made, the two hurriedly finished their meal, cleaned up, and entered the study. Li Hong had already experienced the gaming pod multiple times and had passed the intermediate assessment, so operating the game was no longer an issue. After setting a reminder for Li Hong, Zheng Fan moved to the computer to experience the game running on it. The installation program downloaded from the company's intranet was only a few dozen megabytes, smaller than many games, and it completed the download in less than a second. This game does not have the minimum configuration requirements that many 3D productions have. As long as the computer can boot up normally, it can be played, though a higher configuration would certainly provide a better experience. The installation was also straightforward, taking less than a minute. There was no need to download larger patch files or update content. The login interface appeared directly, allowing access to the game. After entering the ID number and login password, he clicked to log in, and the screen dimmed until it turned black. When the screen brightened again, nothing was visible, just a slightly less dark scene. Zheng Fan thought there might be an issue with the computer and moved the mouse. It felt as if he had opened his eyes in the game. He was in first-person view, sitting on a bed in a meditative posture, with his chief maid, Xiao Zhu, standing beside him. Young master, you're finally awake. You've been cultivating for an entire night. Do you need to eat something? Xiao Zhu asked with concern. Zheng Fan tried to speak, but realized that the computer didn't have a microphone. Fortunately, there was a prompt below that allowed him to pull up a text box to type. Not hungry yet. You can go rest. The character in the game automatically spoke his words, and Xiao Zhu bowed and exited. Having not played games on a computer for a long time, Zheng Fan felt somewhat unaccustomed. He used his left hand to control movement with the keyboard and his right hand to control the view with the mouse, taking several minutes to adapt. After getting used to the gaming pod, switching to computer gaming felt like moving from a smartphone to a low-end phone from over a decade ago. The experience felt like it had dropped from the sky to the ground, and he found it particularly uncomfortable and hard to adjust. In addition to moving the body and changing perspectives, many subtle actions can only be performed through keyboard shortcuts or right-clicking the mouse. For instance, actions like opening and closing eyes, sitting in meditation, exiting meditation, standing up, sitting down, squatting, lying down, rolling, crawling, jumping, walking, and running can be managed by holding down the directional keys. With so many intricate operations, even the most realistic visuals can frustrate players. It's challenging on computers, and even more troublesome on mobile devices. No matter how smooth the player's controls are, the characters inside the game may appear robotic and stiff, especially when compared to highly intelligent NPCs, making the game characters seem foolish. It seems that Wang Xiaoyu's post was too mild, only mentioning the advantages of the computer and mobile versions while completely neglecting the drawbacks. The game's time progression is also problematic. The game pod can produce a near-hypnotic effect, allowing players to experience incredibly realistic sensory perceptions, almost completely losing track of the accelerated game time. On both computer and mobile, this effect is non-existent. After half an hour of play, the in-game time for Zheng Fan was even slower than real time. He sighed, controlled his character to continue meditating, and then exited the computer game. Using his mobile device, he summoned a Cheng to share some of his thoughts and ask for his perspective. A Cheng's response was somewhat unexpected. He had observed many game videos online and felt that these slightly complicated control issues weren't significant. Compared to the cinematic quality graphics and near-realistic game experience, this level of difficulty could easily be overcome and wouldn't pose a barrier. Zheng Fan sighed again. The reason we launched a multi-platform game is that your powerful computing capacity can support more people playing online simultaneously, allowing more individuals to participate and enjoy the game while also helping you grow. The videos you see online are from advanced players and seasoned gamers. They only represent a small portion of the community. If they find the controls challenging, one can imagine how much harder it is for the average person, which goes against our original intention. We should enable those who have never played games to experience the charm and fun of this game through the simplest controls, or even without any controls at all. I understand, Master. A Cheng replied. Your knowledge and abilities in this area are far beyond mine. This is just my suggestion as an ordinary player, and in the future, more people will provide you with suggestions. I hope you can take this to heart. Chapter 59. Devoted training. After finishing his conversation with a Cheng, Zheng Fan logged onto the forum again and wrote a post detailing the issues he encountered with the computer game and some of his thoughts. In the post, he encouraged everyone to offer suggestions without hesitation, assuring them that a Chung would see every suggestion and that reasonable ones would be adopted, with appropriate rewards in the game. The game would be maintained and operated independently by a Chung and under compliance with national regulations. No one would interfere with the normal operation of the game. After posting, Zheng Fan opened the webpage to search for some basic knowledge about the Tang dynasty and the fundamentals of Taoist cultivation. It was clear that in the game, cultivation also needed to follow certain theories. It wasn't just about random gestures to achieve mastery. In the game, Xiao Zhu mentioned that the year was the second year of Qianfeng, which corresponded to 667. At that time, Li Yuanying must have been exiled to Sichuan, enjoying his time in a grand cultivation palace. Historical records indicate that Emperor Gaozong of Tang, Li Ji, died in 683, and Li Yuanying died in 684, after which it was the era dominated by Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian had blood on her hands, having eliminated many of the Li family's descendants, but fortunately, there were still several years ahead. One could only hope to stay low-key and survive until then. Thinking this way felt a bit off. After all, Zheng Fan had the foresight of a time traveler. Wasn't he that a bit too timid? He was someone who sought immortality and should distance himself from worldly disputes. With this in mind, he felt somewhat reassured, telling himself not to lower his standards to those of common people. As he thought about seeking immortality, he began searching for various Taoist texts and articles related to cultivation. He had never been interested in these before, always believing that in the new society with advanced technology, no one would still believe in superstitions. To his surprise, there was quite a lot of material available. Taoism, as a religion, was founded by Zhang Daoling during the Eastern Han Dynasty, and its lineage has continued to this day as the Zhengyi school, originally known as Tianshi Dao or Wudemi Dao. Over time, many smaller sects emerged, such as the Maoshan and Xinxiao sects, which are quite famous. Today, the most influential is the Chuanjin school, established at the end of the Song Dynasty by Wang Zhongfu, whose courtesy name was Yunk. He later changed his name to Shixiang and his courtesy name to Dui. After entering the Dao, he adopted the name Zhe and the courtesy name Jiming, becoming known as Wang Chongyang, a figure popularized by a martial arts novel. Compared to the obscure texts left by the predecessors in the Taoist canon, which were often difficult to understand, Wang Chongyang's 15 teachings of establishing the teaching and 10 teachings of internal cultivation were concise and easy to grasp, seemingly sharing commonalities with the teachings of Qi Yunzi. More importantly, Wang Chongyang's theories absorbed the strengths of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, emphasizing self-cultivation and inner peace rather than alchemical practices and mystical theatrics, which resonated with Zheng Fan's character. While he was deeply engrossed in his research, the gaming pod opened, and Li Hong walked out with tears streaming down her face. What happened? Did she really cry while playing a game? Zheng Fan quickly went over, wrapped his arms around her, and comforted her. Having known her for so long, it was the first time he had seen Li Hong cry. She looked so fragile that it stirred a strong protective instinct within him. After sobbing in his embrace for a while, Li Hong finally calmed down and slowly recounted her experiences in the game. As a nurse, she had chosen the doctor profession in the game and came from a family of medical practitioners. Unfortunately, she encountered her biological sister giving birth in the game. Being an only child, Li Hong had always longed for an elder sister, and the game seemed to fulfill that wish. Unfortunately, her sister faced complications during childbirth. Having worked in a hospital for 7 to 8 years, Li Hong had become accustomed to life and death scenarios. Although she wasn't in obstetrics, she had participated in several deliveries and was not completely clueless. But that was during the Tang Dynasty, when there were no anesthetics, no blood transfusions, and no surgeries. Li Hong exerted great effort to help her sister give birth, but she still couldn't save her sister's life. The child lost their mother less than a day after being born. At this point, Li Hong couldn't help but shed tears. It was too real. My sister is gone. The child is so pitiful, losing their father even before birth, and now losing their mother right after being born. It's tragic. It's just a game. Don't take it too seriously. Zheng Fan comforted. When they got to bed, Li Hong kept mumbling about her sister's passing, and Zheng Fan had to soothe the child for quite a while before they finally fell asleep. The next day, when Zheng Fan woke up, Li Hong had already gone to work, leaving breakfast for him on the table. After washing up and finishing breakfast, Zheng Fan eagerly dove back into the game. This time, he also woke up in bed, which suggested that the characters in the game were not idle when he was away. They likely continued to live according to their habits. Lying in bed, he opened the attributes panel and found that his cultivation experience had surprisingly reached 63 points. Affiliated sect, Qiyun sect cultivation method, Chuyun Gong cultivation realm, entry-level cultivation experience, 63 level. 3. Level does not directly affect attribute values. Only proportional to cultivation experience. Note, The following attribute values are associated with physical condition in the realm of the cultivated method. Strength, 30, average person, 0, 100 speed, 50, average person, 0, 100 spirit, 65, average person, 0, 100, comprehension, 90, average person, 0, 100, strength increased by 10 points, spirit by 5 points. And the others remained unchanged. This sect and method were indeed simple. Sitting up, he continued to cultivate and soon entered that mysterious state, feeling comfortable and joyful in body and mind. No wonder so many people are addicted to this path. It truly has its allure. Suddenly sensing something, he opened his eyes to see Xiaozhu and Zhu entering with a tray, which held his clothes. It was time to get up. He got out of bed, dressed, washed up, had breakfast, and then went for a stroll to aid digestion, followed by a set of 5 animal frolics. Returning to the room, he continued to cultivate. Day after day, Zhang Fan had not set a time limit for the game pod. He wanted to see how long he could stay inside. Each day was the same, and time passed quickly. 3 months had flown by in the game. His cultivation level had risen to level 9, but had stopped increasing. The cultivation experience was still slowly accumulating, now over 700 points, but his realm remained at entry level. One morning, after getting up, Zhang Fan decided not to continue cultivating, but to go for a mountain hike. The small hill in front of the manor had no name, and besides a dilapidated Qiyun temple, there were no other shrines. Nevertheless, it still took Zhang Fan and the maidservants and guards over an hour to reach the top. The days of cultivation had clearly paid off. Zhang Fan only broke a slight sweat and did not feel as exhausted as he had last time. When he was out of breath and parched just reaching the halfway point at Qiyun Temple, on a rock at the mountaintop, Zhang Fan saw the old Taoist Qiyunzi, sitting cross-legged and facing the newly risen sun. Above his head, there seemed to be a hazy column of energy reaching into the sky, but when he blinked, it vanished, as if it were just an illusion. The accompanying guards carried food, sitting mats, and other supplies. Zhang Fan took a mat and sat beside Qiyunzi, mimicking his posture, and began to meditate. This time, the feeling during meditation seemed somewhat different from before. In the past, he could sense a flow of energy circulating slowly throughout his body, but it was not very pronounced. Today, however, the energy felt much stronger, and its speed was gradually increasing. Each time the energy reached the top of his head, it would naturally accelerate, as if wanting to burst forth. But each time it felt just a little shy of breaking through. Instead, it would disperse and continue to accumulate strength throughout his body for the next surge. Chapter 60. A glimpse of the path. Not knowing how many times the internal energy had surged, Zhang Fan remained undeterred, slowly withdrawing from meditation and opening his eyes. Qiyunzi stood before him, smiling as he stroked his beard, calm and collected, neither proud nor anxious. Although the 7th young master is still young, he possesses a rare talent for cultivation. No wonder his progress is so rapid. Zhang Fan quickly rose, following the customs of the time, bringing his hands together above his head and bowing. Thank you, Master, for your guidance. I dare not forget your teachings. The 7th young master is exceptionally gifted, with an unlimited future ahead. I, as a limited old Taoist, cannot be your master, but I can share my insights with you, which may inspire you. The old Taoist said, stepping aside to avoid Zhang Fan's bow. This exchange was quite harmonious. Qiyunzi South insights were very close to the heart methods of Wang Chongyang that Zhang Fan had collected online, albeit more rudimentary. It seemed that the emergence of a school of thought was not created from thin air. It must have its origins. Thinking of this, he admired the clever design of the game by a Cheng. The knowledge involved was vast, and despite Zhang Fan's excellent memory and strong learning abilities, he still found it hard to stay awake while reading dense Taoist texts. To make the game more coherent, all related book contents needed to be integrated, and relying solely on human effort might take decades to accomplish. From that day on, Zhang Fan got up early every day before sunrise to climb the mountain, beginning his practice facing the dawn. Finally, one day, as the sun rose, the energy he had accumulated within broke through the top of his head. At that moment, he felt as if he had merged with the heavens and earth, intertwining without distinction. In this game, Zhang Fan's character was Li Xuanwan, the 7th son of Li Yuanying, the Prince of Tong. His chosen game name, Li Wuxian, was only visible on the game panel, while everyone around him called him Young Master or 7th Young Master. His father, Li Yuanying, was the son of Li Yuan and half-brother to Li Shimin, and he was the uncle of the current emperor, Li Ji. Although he often acted recklessly and was not favored by Li Ji, facing repeated demotions and relocations, his status could not be changed. Being the brother of the emperor, his standing was still incomparable to that of ordinary people. As a minor prince from a fallen royal family, he lived a life free from worries about food and clothing, always attended by others. Due to his frail health, he had spent most of his childhood at home recuperating, rarely going out or interacting with many people, which created good conditions for his cultivation. With a surge of energy, he felt a breakthrough in his practice, transitioning from acquired to innate abilities. He intuitively realized that continuing to isolate himself was not feasible. He needed to take some action. Coincidentally, he received an invitation to the wedding of his uncle's son, Li Liang, from the Prince of the Secretive Kingdom, Li Yuanxiao. His father was far away in a remote region, and typically, such matters were handled by the family steward. However, he decided to attend, curious about what weddings were like in this era. At this point in the game, he was not yet 16. 1 year younger than the groom, Li Liang. Li Yuanying, his father, might have forgotten he had such a son, and he had not heard of any engagement, which was a relief as it spared him much trouble. Being of similar age and status, the brothers Li Yuanying and Li Yuanxiao had a close relationship since childhood. After growing up, they each took up positions elsewhere, yet the two families remained close. As the only son of Li Yuanying left in the capital, he had a decent relationship with Li Yuanxiao's sons, Li Ying and Li Liang. Li Yuan had over 20 sons, with only a dozen or so reaching adulthood, and their descendants numbered in the hundreds. From what he understood, he had not interacted much with people of his status, rarely going out and having never met most of his uncles and cousins. Accompanying him to the wedding was the steward left in charge of the Tungwang Pavilion, a middle-aged handsome man named Shi Yi, who had served Li Yuan in the past. In modern times, no one would guess he was a eunuch. The wedding was attended by many, with hundreds of relatives from Li Yuan's sons and grandsons present, and many others unable to come to the capital. Shi Yi helped introduce him to several people, allowing many to meet the previously unseen seventh son of the Tungwang Pavilion. Upon the groom's return, the formal ceremony began. The crown prince, Li Hong, came as the emperor's representative to present gifts and stayed to observe the proceedings. After the ceremony, the banquet commenced, and as the representative of the Tungwang Pavilion, he was seated prominently. After months of cultivation, he stood out distinctly among the crowd. Being one of the few unfamiliar faces at such gatherings easily captured Li Hong's attention. After inquiring with his attendants, he learned that this was the ailing seventh son of the Tungwang Pavilion, who seemed to have recovered. Recently focused on his practice, he had been eating very lightly, showing interest only in a few vegetarian dishes on the table. After a few bites, he set down his chopsticks. Standing behind him, Shi Yi coughed softly, prompting him to look up and see a young eunuch approaching. Shi Yi cautiously reminded him that the crown prince might wish to speak with him. The eunuch stepped forward and indeed announced that His Highness the Crown Prince had requested his presence. Zheng Fan stood up reluctantly and walked over. There was no choice. The situation was stronger than the individual, and the uncle had to pay his respects to his nephew. Fortunately, Li Hong did not seem like a rude person. He invited him to sit beside him and inquired about his health. Upon hearing that Zheng Fan had mostly recovered, he asked what methods had been used. At 15, Crown Prince Li Hong had been frail and sickly since childhood. Seeing his uncle, who had been in worse health than him and rarely left home, now looking so vibrant and healthy, he was eager to learn about any secrets to recovery. The practice in the mountains was not a hidden affair. A keen person could easily find out. Li Hong asked directly, wanting to hear it from Zheng Fan himself. Zheng Fan had no intention of hiding anything and briefly recounted his recent experiences, of course omitting the more extraordinary and overwhelming insights he had gained. Despite this, Li Hong listened with great envy. Unfortunately, unlike his uncle, who lived a leisurely life, the crown prince had many responsibilities and little free time. It seemed that this crown prince might have a shorter life than Li Ji, as he had died young. Thinking of this, Zheng Fan couldn't help but remind him, one's health is fundamental. The crown prince should not sacrifice his well-being for study, as it would be putting the cart before the horse. However, how could Li Hong disappoint the earnest expectations of his father and mother and the teachings of his mentors? He was indeed a good and obedient child. There are priorities in life. Learning cannot be rushed, and prolonged illness can turn minor ailments into serious ones, leading to regret when it's too late. The crown prince should not take his health lightly, Zheng Fan advised. Should I also move to the countryside like Uncle Qi, not concerning myself with anything, and spend my days climbing mountains and meditating? He pondered. Different ailments require different treatments. What works for me may not work for you. As long as the crown prince takes it seriously, there are many skilled doctors in the palace who will surely find a suitable method for him. It's crucial to avoid neglecting health issues. Zheng Fan spoke earnestly, resembling an uncle in his advice, though his 16 years of age made it feel somewhat odd to those around him. After returning from the wedding, Zheng Fan felt his restless thoughts had calmed significantly, allowing him to continue his training. Chapter 61. The Crown Prince of the Great Tang as the Crown Prince of the Great Tang. Every word and action of Li Hong was closely watched. Soon, the conversation between Li Hong and Zheng Fan at the wedding banquet reached the ears of Li Ji and his wife. Li Ji chuckled. The Tang family's reckless youth, despite repeated lessons, has produced a mature son. That Taoist from Qiyun Temple seems to have some capabilities. We should invite him to the palace for a consultation. Unfortunately, The envoy sent to find him could not locate the Taoist, as he had recently left with his disciples for a journey. As the saying goes, the common people love their youngest, while the emperor loves his eldest. As the emperor, Li Ji was particularly concerned about his obedient and considerate son, knowing that Li Hong's frail health required him to avoid excessive strain and focus on recuperation. He had previously dismissed these concerns, thinking that his son would grow stronger with age, but Zheng Fan's words served as a reminder that neglecting minor ailments could lead to larger issues. Wu Zetian was also very concerned about her son and suggested, the crown prince's condition is quite similar to that child from the Teng family. Why not let him recuperate at Zuwei Palace for a year or so to strengthen his health, so that a slight chill doesn't necessitate a major intervention? That's good. I can consult that guy nearby and see what skills he has really learned. Li Ji agreed. As the person involved, Zheng Fan was unaware of what was happening later. He had already logged out of the game and noticed it was just after 3 in the afternoon. He had spent over 6 hours in the game, where more than 100 days had passed. If he continued to cultivate and got even stronger, would he be able to experience 100 years in one go? After taking a shower, Zheng Fan went to a nearby gym, worked out on some equipment, and ran a few kilometers on the treadmill until he felt warm all over. Then he went to the supermarket to buy groceries, preparing to go home and cook. He bought green beans, potatoes, cucumbers, tomatoes, cilantro, bean sprouts, and a box of eggs. After having dumplings yesterday, he planned to make tomato noodles today, which was one of the few dishes he could cook well. While waiting in line to check out at the supermarket, he unexpectedly ran into Su Lu and Su Xian together. Although they both had the surname Su, one was from the northeast and the other from Hunan, making it quite a coincidence. How did you two end up together? Zheng Fan asked curiously. Haha, you wouldn't believe it. I was looking for a place to rent and ran into Sister Su, who was renting out a room. We hit it off, so we got together. I just moved in today, Su Xian explained. Don't cook. Come over to our place for dinner later with Li Hong. We'll welcome my sister. Su Lu generously invited. Sure, I'll head back first and go over after Li Hong gets off work. Zheng Fan replied. I wonder what his girlfriend looks like. A curious thought from Su Xian crossed Zheng Fan's mind. When he got home, Li Hong hadn't returned yet. Zheng Fan lay on the sofa and logged into the game on his phone. It seemed that Chung had made some changes to the game on both computer and mobile platforms yesterday. The screen now had additional action shortcuts and a default auto mode, where the game characters were fully controlled by an intelligent program, allowing players to just watch. Players could also take over at any time, and the movements were much smoother and more natural than the day before. In the game, Zheng Fan had just gotten up in the morning and was practicing the 5 animal frolics when the steward, Shi Yi, came in to report that the crown prince had come to visit, and his carriage was already at the manor gate. Zheng Fan had to stop his movements and hurry back inside to change clothes before going out to greet him. After welcoming Crown Prince Li Hong into the house and exchanging pleasantries, Zheng Fan learned that they had become neighbors. The Crown Prince had been ordered to move to Zuwei Palace for recuperation, which was right next to Zheng Fan's place. This manor had originally been built from a corner of the garden of Zuwei Palace. I'll be disturbing Uncle Chi's tranquility from now on. My father and mother know that we both had similar health issues before. Now that your health has improved, they asked me to come learn your cultivation methods to restore my health as soon as possible, Li Hong said with some embarrassment. Unexpectedly, just by talking a bit more, Zheng Fan had attracted a big trouble. However, he had no intention of keeping anything secret. Li Hong was a decent person, and if he could improve his health, perhaps it could quell Wu Zetian's ambitions. The mobile game was a bit inconvenient to operate, but fortunately, there were many prompts and shortcuts added. Even the dialogues now had several preset options to choose from, allowing for a completely silent gaming experience. You selected to impart Li Hong's skills, and the characters in the game began to act on their own, diligently teaching as if they were serious about it. Li Hong was clever, but not as exceptionally gifted as Zheng Fan. After teaching the 5 animal play several times, he still hadn't fully memorized it. He had to focus on teaching him the earlier moves first, and the rest could be learned later. At the entrance, a voice came. Li Hong had returned from work, and Zheng Fan set the game to exit automatically. Don't bother changing your shoes. Has Su Lu messaged you? Let's go eat at her place. Zheng Fan asked. No. Did she come by just now? Li Hong replied. A colleague from our company rented her place and just moved in today. I ran into them at the supermarket. And Su Lu invited us over for a meal to get acquainted. Female colleague. A young female colleague? Sounds like you have a special connection there. Zheng Fan joked half seriously. All right, let us go. I want to see this special female colleague of yours. Li Hong said nonchalantly, though internally, she thought it seemed a bit more than ordinary. Zheng Fan sensed her inner voice and scolded himself for being too talkative. He feared that dinner might not go well. Su Lu's house was not in the same building as theirs, just a short walk away. They didn't go empty-handed either. Making a detour to the supermarket to buy a fruit basket and a box of milk, which Zheng Fan carried over. After ringing the doorbell, they waited outside. I'm so nervous. I wonder what she looks like and how impressive she is, Zheng Fan thought, puzzled by his girlfriend's nervousness as if there was something unclear between them. The door opened, and the two women locked eyes. For a brief moment, it seemed like sparks flew, quickly replaced by professional smiles as they greeted each other warmly. Hello. You must be Zhang Fan's girlfriend. You're really beautiful. I'm Su Xian, a colleague of Zhang Fan's. Come on in. You're quite pretty too. I'm Li Hong. Once inside, Su Xian went to the fridge for drinks. What would you like to drink? I'll get it for you. No need. I'm familiar with this place. I can get it myself. Li Hong interjected. Zhang Fan said, please get me a bottle of green tea. We don't have green tea. Do you drink black tea? That works. Li Hong, you can have black tea too. Li Hong took the black tea and placed it on the coffee table. That is fine. I'm not thirsty now. I'll drink later. Su Xian went to help in the kitchen, and soon the dishes were served on the table. Su Lu raised her glass to welcome Su Xian to her new home, and Zhang Fan and Li Hong raised their glasses in unison. No one drank alcohol. Everyone had beverages. The dinner, filled with unspoken tension, ended pleasantly in a harmonious scene. Chapter 62. Heated discussion after dinner. They sat for another 10 minutes, engaging in small talk. Li Hong pulled Zhang Fan away from Su Lu's house. Once outside the building, the wind blew, and Zhang Fan realized his shirt was already damp with sweat. The two women, meeting for the first time, were subtly competing against each other, and Zhang Fan could sense their thoughts clearly, yet felt powerless to act. This painful feeling was something he never wanted to experience again. On the way back, Li Hong ignored Zhang Fan completely. Once home, she took a shower, changed her clothes, and then headed straight into the gaming pod to play, entirely disregarding his presence. Fortunately, Zhang Fan's telepathic ability was still functioning, making him aware that Li Hong wasn't genuinely angry with him. She was just expressing some inexplicable hostility towards Su Xian, using him to vent her frustrations. Zhang Fan also found Su Xian somewhat puzzling. He could clearly sense that she didn't have any romantic feelings for him, nor was she the type to be malicious or vain. So why did she look down on his girlfriend? Just because he wasn't handsome. Did that mean he couldn't have a beautiful girlfriend? Women's thoughts are indeed hard to decipher. Even with telepathy, he couldn't fully understand them. Zhang Fan began to question whether his telepathy was even real. However, the test from that day had revealed many of Su Xian's secrets, and he had even picked up on a lot of Su Wen's thoughts. Su Xian was indeed a simple-minded woman. He believed that many emotionally intelligent people could guess her thoughts almost perfectly without any telepathic abilities. This was probably her advantage, which is why she could quickly gain the trust of seasoned individuals like Gao Hua and Su Lu. It seemed her mind functioned like a magnifying glass. Not only were her own thoughts transparent, but she also allowed Zhang Fan to see what others were thinking. With such a unique way of thinking, it was no surprise that her thought processes were a bit quirky. Thinking of this made Zhang Fan feel much better. As long as he kept them apart, everything would be fine. Perhaps it was just a case of incompatible personalities, a natural adversarial relationship. He opened the company's internal forum and found that his post had been pinned, and there were dozens of replies beneath it. Some users reported that the computer and mobile versions had undergone significant improvements, including new character intelligence assistance features that made operations much easier, as well as auto-prompts and smart dialogue options that were incredibly useful. Others praised Chung for his outstanding performance, noting that since the game's launch, it had never gone offline, and such a major update was completed online. Soon, someone chimed in with flattery, saying Chung was impressive, but Zhang Fan was even more so, and it was rare for someone so talented to be so low-key. They worshipped him. A series of sycophantic replies followed, which made Zhang Fan feel secretly pleased yet embarrassed, prompting him to quickly close the thread. An employee responsible for external communications posted a remark, stating that today's update came at just the right time, as it had completely addressed the game's final shortcomings, making it flawless and impeccable. After playing this game, they felt that other popular games were merely child's play and utterly boring. The thread was filled with praise, with some analyzing the game's advantages from various angles and discussing future upgrade directions, ultimately declaring that the days of those big gaming companies were numbered. Another employee involved in game planning posted that, given the game's unique mode, new revenue methods should be explored. They suggested removing the initial profession choice and replacing it with random professions, allowing paying players to unlock profession options, similar to purchasing character cards in card games. They even proposed charging per use or selling annual or monthly subscriptions for access. This post caught the attention of a certain individual, who left a comment suggesting that everyone is welcome to share their opinions. Their reply quickly elevated the post to the top trending topic, with many people enthusiastically joining the discussion. Most agreed with the suggestion, although a few opposed it. Some even proposed selling point cards based on time, which seemed straightforward and fair, treating everyone equally regardless of their financial situation. However, this suggestion was widely criticized, as many believed that such so-called equality would exclude a lot of people, ultimately harming the company. A new employee proposed that the game's graphics and realism surpass that of many films, with NPCs being nearly indistinguishable from real people. They suggested that the company could start a film production division, where, with a script, the system could automatically generate a movie, potentially bankrupting most current film companies due to the cost and efficiency. This idea sparked a lot of creativity, with someone suggesting that since our game simulates Earth, we could create a travel company allowing players to explore the world through the game, which would be cost-effective, safe, and environmentally friendly. Another person proposed buying the rights to time travel novels, allowing players to experience what it feels like to be the protagonist, which would surely be a hit, an innovative and exclusive business, far better than anything in other entertainment experiences, and, importantly, safe from any potential deception. However, this suggestion was quickly criticized. The critic recalled their initial belief that entering the game would allow them to change the world like a protagonist in a time travel novel, only to be faced with harsh realities within the game. They noted that even simple tasks like making glass or forging steel were daunting, and attempts to recite poetry were met with skepticism, as they struggled with basic characters and lacked formal education. The discussion soon veered off topic, with many sharing their frustrations about their experiences in the game. Transitioning to a new profession was challenging, let alone pursuing immortality. Many felt constrained by the game's various conditions, as emotional connections, like family and friendship, were more pronounced and intense than in reality, making it hard to escape. One single male programmer even declared that he had married and started a family in the game, feeling that life in the game was much better than in reality. He wished he could spend all his time there, as his real-life struggles to afford a home and start a family were overwhelming, leaving him feeling suffocated by pressure. In the game, he felt like a real person. This response resonated with many, as the game's setting in the Tang Dynasty presented a stark contrast to the material conditions of reality. However, the relationships among people were much closer and more sincere, whether between family members, relatives, or neighbors. Despite knowing they were all NPCs, interactions felt more human and comfortable. Just as I was engrossed in the thread, my phone rang. It was a call from the individual. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., we have a board meeting to discuss several issues. Is that fine with you? Zheng Fan, I'm here on time. What have you all discussed? Is there an agenda? Lu Yifan, I sent the content to your phone. I called you because I noticed you hadn't responded. I was worried you didn't know. Zheng Fan, I was looking at the company forum. The more people, the more ideas. There are many issues I hadn't even considered before. We definitely need to discuss them. Lu Yifan. All right then, don't forget to come to the meeting tomorrow. Chapter 63. Charging model. The information Lu Yifan sent was similar to what he mentioned on the call, but it included more details about the topics for tomorrow's meeting. The day after tomorrow, there will be a press conference held jointly with a local automotive company, officially launching a mass-produced vehicle equipped with autonomous driving. In reality, it's just the existing model adapted with an autonomous driving system, with minimal hardware changes. The automotive company will also unveil several concept models, completely eliminating the driver's seat and steering wheel, with major changes to the interior layout. It is said that the prototype has already been made and is undergoing various rigorous tests, with mass production expected within a year at the earliest. The final topic will be Lu Yifan announcing the official launch of the first deep experience game, Seeking Immortality, developed by a super-intelligent system, with high-fidelity experience game pods now available for pre-order, set to be officially released on April 1st. The first topic of tomorrow's meeting will be to discuss the game's charging strategy. The game is independently developed by a super-intelligent entity, and it will also be operated independently in the future. However, this entity currently occupies over 10% of the computing power of the 8 major supercomputing centers nationwide, with daily costs that are at least in the millions and can exceed 100 million at peak times. Offering it completely for free is not realistic. The second topic will be the pricing of the game pods. Currently, with an annual production of 100,000 units, the cost is 30,000 each. The question is how to price them appropriately. The next step is whether to invest in expanding production capacity or to wait for the next generation of products before scaling up production. These decisions need to be made. The third topic is building our own data center. The company's main cost right now is the endless demand for computing power, which is also the most urgent investment direction for the company. The fourth topic is financing. Given the company's immense influence and limitless potential for the future, the current board is too weak to withstand the growing pressure from various aspects. It cannot continue to remain closed off. How to allocate equity and choose partners has become an urgent issue. Li Hong came out of the game pod feeling much better, seemingly having forgotten the unpleasantness at Su Lu's house earlier. She kept describing how adorable her little niece is, completely forgetting how sad she was yesterday. As she lay in bed preparing to sleep, Li Hong suddenly said, Zheng Fan, should we have a child? Nowadays, every family treasures their children. Where should we go to get one? Zheng Fan replied seriously, talking about serious matters. Do you find it annoying? Li Hong playfully hit his shoulder. We haven't even gotten married, and you're already thinking about having kids. Isn't that a bit too soon? What? You don't want to? I do. Of course I want to. You've been the one insisting on contraception all this time. It's not like we can't afford it. You give birth, and I'll be a full-time dad. Zheng Fan said. No moving. From now on, we need to prepare for pregnancy. We can only start when we're ready. Li Hong firmly stopped someone's inappropriate actions. I don't smoke or drink, and I've never had any bad eating habits. I exercise every day and am always preparing. Zheng Fan said proudly. I need 3 months after stopping the medication, so bear with it. It will pass soon. Li Hong replied. That long. Once you're pregnant, you'll have to wait a year. Zheng Fan lamented. You managed to live for so many years single, didn't you? It's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go back. I don't care. Starting today, I'm preparing for pregnancy. Don't disturb me. Li Hong declared resolutely. Zheng Fan. The night passed without incident. The next morning, Zheng Fan arrived at the company at 9:30. To his surprise, several others were already seated in the conference room. Having discussed things for a while, just waiting for him. Feeling a bit awkward, Zheng Fan found a chair and sat down. Currently, the shareholders of the company are Lu Yifan, Zheng Fan, Zhang Tsong, Su Kan, Shi Xian, Wu Zhen, Su Huiyun, and Gao Hua, totaling 8 people. Su Huiyun and Gao Hua each hold 2 options. Shi Xian and Wu Zhen each hold 5 options. Zhang Tsong and Su Kan each hold 15 shares. Zheng Fan holds 20 shares, and Lu Yifan holds the remaining 36 shares. Alright, now that Zheng Fan is here, we can start this meeting early. Gao, you go ahead. You have a comprehensive understanding, Lu Yifan announced, tapping the table. Gao Hua instructed Su Xian, who was sitting behind, to distribute the prepared documents to everyone. Then began speaking. Let's first discuss the game's charging strategy. Not considering our D costs, just the future operating expenses, the estimated costs are in the document. The rental fees for supercomputing are a major expense, with total costs around 20 million renminbi per day, leading to an annual cost of 7 billion. I believe charging is a necessary option. As for the charging model, I prefer a value-added payment model where certain professions require payment to unlock, which is an effective model currently used by many game companies and carries lower risks. Su Huiyun expressed a differing opinion. Our game can be considered unprecedented, and the experience is on a completely different level. I believe that a point card charging model has more potential. As for the concern about setting a barrier that might discourage many people, the public's perception of online payment has started to form. If we set the price low, everyone can afford 1 yuan a day, right? As long as we have over 20 million users, we can be profitable, based on the market department's estimates. The domestic gaming population is projected to conservatively exceed 200 million in the future, with a profit margin over 90, which is quite considerable. Wu Zhen, as the game department director, leaned towards the first model. The national conditions are different. In the domestic market, value-added charging remains mainstream, while time-based charging could be considered for future expansion abroad. Zhang Tsong, Shi Xian, and Su Kan, all veteran players of the game, supported the time-based charging model. With 4 people expressing support for the time-based charging, only Zheng Fan and Lu Yifan had yet to voice their opinions. Zheng Fan, personally, I would prefer to keep it completely free. Since there is pressure from operational costs, I lean towards the first model of redistributing wealth. Our game is different from others. It resembles a single-player experience, serving as a second life for people outside of reality. In the future, our artificial intelligence will gradually permeate various industries, and many repetitive production jobs may be replaced, leaving a large number of people with nothing to do. I hope our game can become an infrastructure like the power grid or the internet, a spiritual home for everyone, where even if there is nothing to do, they can find some solace. On a more optimistic note, the licensing fees our smart programs charge in the future could reach astronomical figures. I hope that one day we will not only offer our services for free, but also pay some low-income players to ensure their basic living conditions. Lu Yifan, Zheng Fan made a great point and gave everyone a reminder. Our company must not become a monster that only knows how to chase profits. Let us stick to the first model. The price shouldn't be too high, and we can consider going completely free at an appropriate time in the future. As for paying everyone, that is still too far off. Let us not discuss that today. Let us move on to the next item. Gao Hua. We currently have an order for 100,000 gaming pods, with a production cost of 30,000 each. If we can reach an annual sales volume of 1 million, the cost could drop to around 20,000. If annual sales exceed 10 million, the cost could go as low as around 10,000. According to market research, if we price it at 100,000, the expected annual sales are around 500,000. If the retail price drops to 30,000, annual sales could exceed 200,000. However, our production capacity is far from sufficient. We need an investment of at least 5 billion. Chapter 64. Continuing the discussion on gaming pods, there was not much debate. Liu Yifan and Zhang Tsong's research breakthroughs are practical, but a definite date has not yet been established. The experience of the second-generation gaming pod seems sufficient for now. With the launch of new games, the demand for gaming pods is expected to exceed supply, so everyone agrees to invest in expanding production capacity as soon as possible. There were no objections to the construction of a data center, but there were questions about where to build it, how much to invest, and the scale of the construction. Several people present were not experts, so it was unanimously decided to hold a public tender soon and hire professionals to handle it. Zhang Fan added, regarding which type of chip is more suitable for running smart programs, Achung has the most authority. However, chip design is a knowledge-intensive task, and there is limited public information available online, which is Achung's shortcoming. It would be best for us to acquire a chip design company with mature products. After Achung integrates their technology, he can design the chips most suitable for running smart programs, achieving optimal efficiency. Gaohua, I will follow up on this matter. There are many chip design companies, and this can be one of our financing conditions. We will prioritize investment companies that have resources in this area. Our major future expenditures will primarily focus on the construction of data centers, the expansion of gaming pod production capacity, and computing power rental. According to the most conservative budget, we can achieve self-sufficiency without needing financing, but that would face significant external resistance and also affect our development speed. Therefore, financing and introducing strong partners can accelerate our growth and enhance our ability to withstand risks. Hao Hua took a sip of tea and continued, because we have an undeniable technological advantage in the field of artificial intelligence. This has been confirmed through self-driving cars that are now popular worldwide and through dozens of technology licenses. The market recognizes the company's valuation has already exceeded 100 billion. I believe that with the launch of the game Seeking Immortality and the release of the gaming pods, this valuation is likely to double, which is highly probable. 1 to 2 months after the gaming pod is launched, we will initiate financing negotiations. Now let's discuss how much equity we should offer for financing and how to distribute the shares in a way that is most beneficial for the company's sustainable development. Liu Yifan stated, the primary purpose of founding this company with Zhang Tsong and Su Can was to transform our knowledge into tangible products to gain a sense of achievement recognized by society. If profitability allows us to continue our independent research, that would be an even greater surprise. We have already exceeded this goal ahead of schedule. Therefore, as long as it benefits the healthy development of the company, I don't mind how much equity we give away. It is well known that the current situation of the company owes the most to Zhang Fan, so I propose that in this financing round, Zhang Fan shares should not be diluted, and my shares can be prioritized for dilution. Hao Hua led the applause to thank Liu Yifan for his statement. As he is the largest shareholder, setting an example for others, Zhang Fan said, before I came for the interview at the company, I bought a lottery ticket and was lucky enough to win a jackpot, with a post-tax prize of 228 million. I was ready to retire early and travel around to enjoy a leisurely life. But I had already promised Wang Xiaoyu to come for the interview, initially intending to just go through the motions. However, the gaming pod products from General Liu and the team attracted me, and out of interest, I joined this company. The development of the company has exceeded my expectations. My contributions have already surpassed what I anticipated. Currently, the core competitiveness of the company lies in the superintelligence of Achung, and future competitiveness relies on the brain research conducted by General Liu and his team. My role in the company has become somewhat redundant, and I already mentioned to General Liu the day before yesterday that I would not be coming to work anymore. Su Can laughed and said, are you planning to retire again? Yes. I have much more interest in games than just passing time at the company. I've been in the game for more than 3 months and have reached level 10. Zhang Fan said proudly. Everyone was speechless. A single point of equity in the company is worth tens of billions, yet he seems completely unconcerned. Liu Yifan and Zhang Fan together hold 56 of the shares, occupying the majority. Their attitudes have influenced everyone else, and many express that for the sake of the company's development, they are willing to overlook personal gains and losses. Hao Hua sighed. I have participated in financing for many companies, and this is the first time I have encountered such a situation where the shareholders have this kind of attitude. It makes things much easier. Rest assured, everyone. We do not care about the share distribution internally, but when it comes to financing, we absolutely cannot let outsiders take advantage. I will come up with the most reliable plan. After leaving the conference room, Gaohua invited Zhang Fan and Wu Zhen to her office. The game is set to launch after tomorrow's press conference, and we still need to discuss the charging model and pricing. Zhang Fan pointed to Wu Zhen next to him. He is the game director. This is his job. Wu Zhen replied. How can we get Achung to execute it? If you don't give the order, he won't listen. So how did you get Achung to develop the game? Zhang Fan countered. Didn't we discuss this in the meeting? That's right. You just need to formalize it into a document and notify Achung. You've seen his efficiency. Any decision made through the company's formal process will be executed by Achung as long as it doesn't violate national laws. Zhang Fan stated. Gaohua added, there's one more thing. You can take a day off or work from home, but you must serve as the chief technology officer. As you said, a Chung is our core now. Who else do you think can take on this role besides you? You can't just hand this position to an outsider. That would be irresponsible to the company and to a Chung. Zhang Fan helplessly agreed. All right, I accept. Actually, a Chung at this stage doesn't really need me as a caretaker. You can replace me anytime if you have a suitable candidate. Seeing that he finally agreed, Gao Hua smiled and said, you don't need to do anything. Just having your name there is enough. It's already been notified from above that you will be included in the selection for the National Top Science and Technology Award. The invention of artificial intelligence is an undeniable world-class achievement, and winning the award is a certainty. Setting aside personal honors, having this title adds another layer of protection for the company. After leaving Gao Hua's office, Wu Zhen pulled Zhang Fan back to the game department and pushed him into a chair. Honestly, how did you level up to level 10? Just sticking to meditation every day, except for eating and sleeping. I was practicing. Zhang Fan shared his experience. That's it. Oh, and when I was about to break through, I climbed mountains every day before sunrise to practice facing the rising sun. Don't you have to work in the game? No social engagements? Wu Zhen asked suspiciously. My identity in the game is that of a royal descendant living off others, with no worries about food and clothing. So I don't need to work or attend social events. Get lost. You're so annoying. I don't want a friend like you. Wu Zhen retorted angrily. With that mindset, you're already at a disadvantage. Practicing requires overcoming anger, ignorance, pride, and impatience. Not making progress is a good thing. Progressing too quickly might lead you astray. Zhang Fan patiently advised. How do you know so much? Do you only work hard in the game? I've been cramming a lot of coursework recently. You're impressive. I'm in awe of you. Chapter 65. Persistence is key. The meeting went very smoothly and ended early. When Zhang Fan left the company, it was still not yet 11 o'clock. Thinking of going to the training hall to find Lu Yu, he remembered that he was also interested in the game pod and wanted to remind him to make a reservation for tomorrow, while also getting some exercise. Walking towards the direction of the sports village, I called Ho Chung to let him know about the game capsule release tomorrow. I told him to pay attention to the launch event and make a reservation in time if he wanted one. Otherwise, he shouldn't complain if he couldn't get it. Both of them are well off and are valuable clients. The weather in March had already warmed up, and many fashionable women on the streets were wearing skirts, showing off their beautiful legs. At the bus stop by the roadside and on the buses passing by, there were large advertisements for The Wandering Earth. This movie, which was released on the first day of the Lunar New Year, is still popular and currently in theaters. I thought about finding time to watch it with Li Hong. When I arrived at the gym, I couldn't find Lu Yu. After asking Wang Bin, I learned that he wasn't working today. I called him and found out he was away on a business trip with his girlfriend and wasn't in the city. I informed him about the official game release tomorrow and reminded him to watch the launch event, taking the opportunity to promote our game a bit. Fan Gu, practice with me. I see you have nothing to do. Wang Bin came over after I finished my call. Practice? If you want to get beaten up, then so be it. But let's not make it too predictable. You can't use your right hand or kick. Wang Bin bargained. Fine, no problem. I agreed immediately. The two of us stepped onto the ring in the center of the gym. Those who were training around us stopped to watch the match. Wang Bin took advantage of my left-hand limitation and came at me with punches and kicks, but to me, he didn't pose much of a threat. He was fine against an average person, but he was far from enough for me. As Wang Bin's movement slowed down, I flipped my left hand and grabbed his right leg during a sneak attack, shaking it hard. With his weight of over 80 kilograms, he fell with a thud against the edge of the ring. Another part-time coach at the club, a tall and muscular fighter named Li Fuxing, who stood over 2 meters tall, jumped onto the ring upon seeing Wang Bin down. Fan Gu, let me try too, he said, throwing punches at me. I was more than happy to have another sparring partner, especially since Li Fuxing was also skilled and much stronger than Wang Bin. Li Fuxing, nearly 200 kilograms, moved significantly faster than an average person, and with a height advantage of over 30 centimeters, his punches came at me with great force. Unfortunately, he missed all his punches. This wasn't a formal match, and there was no pressure, so I treated it like practice, dodging left and right without striking back. For me, defeating this big guy wasn't difficult. The challenge was to do so without injuring him, since his participation in matches was his main source of income. Although he was large and had strong resistance, my punches were different, delivering 700 to 800 kilograms of force that could take down a tiger. After throwing dozens of punches, Li Fuxing was quite exhausted and stepped back to catch his breath. I had barely used any energy and wasn't even out of breath. You should save your strength for the matches. I won't bully you. Fan Gu, do you look down on me? Your resistance is too strong, and it's hard for me to control my strength without hurting you, which could affect your future matches. It's not about looking down on you, I explained. Wang Bin interjected. Let's not compare anymore. It's time for dinner. Fan Gu, let us have a meal together. Big guy, you come too. The three of them found a small restaurant near the gym, ordered a few dishes, and chatted while eating. Speaking of Li Fuxing's background, He was from Inner Mongolia, and his accent was no different from that of northeast China. His hometown was actually right next to the three eastern provinces. At 18, he came to the capital to make a name for himself, relying on his strong physique to work as a laborer on construction sites. One day after work, he was out having fun when Wang Bin discovered him. With his build, he had a great advantage in combat sports, so he brought him over for a test. This guy had fought a lot since he was young, and he was indeed a good fit for the sport, despite being only 20. He was already working part-time as a coach and competing, earning at least 20 to 30,000 a month, which was much better than working on a construction site. The semifinals of this season are the day after tomorrow. Are you coming? There will be some skilled fighters. Wang Bin asked. I'll see how it goes. If I have time, I'll come. Where is it being held? Zhang Fan replied. Our home ground, right at the arena we were just at. The opponent is an international team, with fighters from Korea, Mongolia, and even Thailand. They're all tough opponents. Li Fuxing, who had been eating vigorously, chimed in. That Mongolian wrestler is really strong. I lost to him last time. Zhang Fan asked curiously. He's from Outer Mongolia. You're from Inner Mongolia. Do you consider him a fellow villager? Can you understand what he says? I'm from Inner Mongolia, but I'm Han and don't speak Mongolian. Listening to him is like hearing a foreign language. I know a few words of English, but Mongolian is completely foreign to me. Some of my former classmates are of Mongolian descent, and even they don't speak Mongolian anymore. After finishing their meal, Li Fuxing became more talkative. The thing that bothered him the most was being asked whether he rode a horse to school. He didn't know who invented that joke, but it had become widely known after spreading through short videos. Their family didn't live in a pastoral area, and he had hardly seen a horse in his life. After eating, Zhang Fan didn't return to the gym with them, but went straight home. Now, he felt something was missing if he didn't play games for a day. Once he entered the game, it was dark, and he was climbing a mountain. There were guards with lanterns following him both in front and behind, and beside him was the panting Prince Li Hong. Ever since moving to Tsuiwei Palace, Li Hong had become his shadow, reporting to him every day, practicing together, and waking up early to climb the mountain with him. Fortunately, while Li Hong wasn't physically strong, he had good perseverance and managed to keep it up for over 10 consecutive days. Now he could climb to the top without much rest. Upon reaching the summit, they rested briefly and began their daily practice, sitting in meditation. Ever since he broke through to the innate stage, his cultivation experience had increased much faster than before, but the experience required for leveling up was also greater. He had just reached level 11. The feeling during meditation now was different from when he first started. Back then, he only felt comfortable all over and wanted to continue. But now he truly felt he was cultivating, as if every breath was absorbing the energy of the heavens and the earth to strengthen himself. Li Hong had just started his journey and was not yet suitable for meditating at the mountaintop. He climbed the mountain mainly to exercise his body and strengthen his will. Once on the mountain, Zhang Fan meditated while he practiced the 5-animal play, a set of exercises believed to have originated from the renowned physician Hua Tuo during the Eastern Han and Three Kingdoms period. This exercise mimics the movements of 5 animals: the tiger, deer, bear, ape, and bird, with each animal having 13 movements taught by the master, totaling 65 movements. The practice requires smooth and fluid motions, which posed a significant challenge for Li Hong, who had previously lacked physical activity. After practicing for over 10 days, while the guards had already learned the movements, he had only just managed to memorize all of them. Completing the entire set of movements took him half an hour, during which Zhang Fan had already finished meditating and was watching him. Once you learn this set of movements and practice it daily, even if you cannot cultivate further, it will still strengthen your body and prolong your life. Zhang Fan encouraged. I also have to thank Uncle Qi for his teachings. I do feel much stronger these days. Li Hong expressed his gratitude. Persistence is key. Let us head down the mountain. Chapter 66. Daily life in the game. Upon returning to the foot of the mountain, Li Hong brought his guards back to Tsuiwei Palace, while Zhang Fan took his attendants back to the estate. After washing up and having breakfast, he went to the study, where Xiaozhu helped him prepare paper and ink, and he began practicing calligraphy. Perhaps for the sake of the game's universality, all NPCs spoke Mandarin, but the written language could not be changed to simplified characters to adapt to the environment. Zhang Fan had been consistently practicing calligraphy and studying the art of painting from this era. Cultivating immortality cannot be achieved overnight. Mastering the skills of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting is essential. Even if one cannot become an immortal, they can still gain recognition as a scholar. In reality, Zhang Fan's handwriting was already quite good, and he had self-studied sketching for a period, giving him a solid foundation. His game character was also not without merit, as he had not neglected these basic skills. After months of practice, his running script and regular script had become quite decent, although he still had a long way to go to be considered a master. At least his skills were passable, and he wouldn't be ridiculed. Currently, he was copying a text known as the Inner Landscape Scripture, which he did not know who had transcribed. The regular script looked quite pleasant, and Zheng Fan diligently copied it every day. This text was said to be written by the famous female Taoist Wei Huazuan during the Wei and Jin dynasties, and it was one of the important scriptures of the Heavenly Master Tao, containing nearly 3,000 characters. Carefully copying the entire text took him over an hour, and he had already memorized it well enough that every stroke was etched in his mind. Now, Zheng Fan's game character had entered a new stage of cultivation, no longer limited to meditation. Walking, sitting, and lying down all constituted a form of cultivation. He realized that copying the character model also required focus and calmness, proving to be just as effective as meditation, and he could practice his writing at the same time. After copying the inner landscape scripture, he also copied the outer landscape scripture. Feeling unsatisfied, he then recited the Tao Te Ching from memory. After a session of brush writing, despite using small characters, he had filled 4 to 5 dozen sheets of rice paper. To dry the ink, Xiaozhu spread the sheets all over the room. Once he had practiced enough writing, Zheng Fan pulled out a book from the shelf to read. It was a legendary novel characteristic of this era titled The Ancient Mirror Chronicles. Flipping it open, he found the entire text written in classical Chinese, of which he could only understand about 60 to 70%. The book recounts a story from the Sui dynasty during the Day period, about an official named Wang Du who accidentally acquires an ancient mirror said to have been cast by the legendary Yellow Emperor. This mirror has the power to reveal demons and spirits. Wang Du uses the mirror while advancing in his career, simultaneously subduing evil beings. Ancient novels are quite interesting to read, though they tend to be short. At this moment, Xiaozhu stacks the already dried papers in order, adds a cover, and ties them together with string, turning them into a book, which she then places in a box that already contains dozens of similar books. Zheng Fan asks, "I told you to dispose of it. You could have just burned it. Why go through all this trouble to bind it?" Xiaozhu replies with a smile. "In the future, if the young master achieves immortality, these writings will be treasures. You really think highly of me. Xiaozhu, do you want to cultivate? I can teach you. I can't learn. I barely recognize a few characters, and I won't understand your mantras. This is simple. I'll teach you a few characters every day, and in a year or so, you'll be able to read. Cultivation relies on comprehension and persistence. I believe you can do it, so give it a try." After teaching Li Hong, Zheng Fan, who has developed a habit of teaching, starts to instruct his maid. He teaches Xiaozhu a few characters and also shows her how to meditate and what to pay attention to, encouraging her to practice for a couple of hours during her free time each day. Outside, someone comes to relay a message that the crown prince is arriving. Ever since moving to Tsuwei Palace, Li Hong has come to report daily, playing chess, chatting, and discussing cultivation and health. He never acts haughty and is very polite, and Zheng Fan considers him a good friend. Speaking of Go, Zheng Fan had no knowledge of it before, but began learning when Li Hong came over. However, he progressed rapidly. After a few games, Li Hong was no longer his opponent, often losing more than winning. Yet, he seemed to enjoy it regardless. And Zheng Fan was curious about his mindset. Go is a mentally demanding game, and playing for too long doesn't align with Li Hong's purpose of resting outside the city. So they only play one game a day without prolonged contemplation, just for fun. In this era, Go boards are not standardized. There are boards with 13, 17, and 19 lines. They use the 19-line board. They make quick moves, alternating stones rapidly, and unsurprisingly, Li Hong loses again. However, he maintains a good attitude, not getting upset over the loss, simply reviewing the game and reflecting on his gains and losses. Next, Li Hong asks Zheng Fan some questions about cultivation, and Zheng Fan shares his experiences in response. "Uncle Qi, are you familiar with Wang Bo? His Qian Yuan Dian Fu is magnificent and full of literary flair. Even the emperor praises him as a prodigy of the Tang dynasty. He is only 17 this year, just a year older than us." Li Hong suddenly brings this up. How could one not know? Everyone who has studied has recited his Ting Wang Gu Su. He is the foremost of the 4 greats of early Tang. "It's a pity he passed away young," Zheng Fan replies, having read about his life just a few days ago. Of course, he cannot say this directly, so Zheng Fan carefully chooses his words. It is indeed a good thing to be a naturally gifted talent. However, achieving success at a young age without knowing how to temper one's brilliance may not be a blessing. If you have a heart for nurturing talent, you could invite him to accompany you in your studies and have him share insights from the records of the grand historian. Li Hong did not blindly follow Zheng Fan's suggestion, but pondered for a moment before asking, is Uncle Qi worried that he might be envied for his talents and suffer great losses? Fortune and misfortune are intertwined. Misfortune may conceal fortune, and fortune may hide misfortune. There are no doors for fortune or misfortune. It is humans who summon them. I hope I am overthinking this. Zheng Fan took out the recently copied Tao Te Ching and shared it, demonstrating that his daily practice of calligraphy was not in vain, as it could be subtly expressed. After this topic, Li Hong brought up some unclear points from his studies to ask for guidance. In the past, Zheng Fan would have been stumped by such questions. But fortunately, the avenues for acquiring modern knowledge are extensive. As long as one is willing, self-study can lead to success, especially with the plethora of lectures from various experts on classics and history. In reality, Zheng Fan was a quiet person who did not enjoy talking. It wasn't that he didn't want to speak. He simply found it hard to find friends with common interests to converse with. Over time, he became less talkative. However, when he met Li Hong in the game, this polite and eager-to-learn boy could engage him on almost every topic, and before he knew it, Zheng Fan found himself speaking more freely. Even outside the game, he made sure to enhance his knowledge to avoid being caught off guard in future conversations, preserving his image as a knowledgeable person. Life in the game was leisurely. Zheng Fan wasn't in a hurry to cultivate. After all, every action, walking, sitting, or lying down, was a form of practice. His current life was what he once longed for, so he simply enjoyed it. His daily routine included climbing mountains, practicing, reading, painting, calligraphy, playing chess, occasionally learning to play the piano or flute, and fishing by the river. Life was quite satisfying. In his spare time, he would mentor the young Li Hong, instilling some positive energy and shaping his worldview, hoping he wouldn't meet a short-lived fate like some historical figures, which would render Zheng Fan's efforts futile. Months passed quickly. Li Hong was a step too late, and Wang Bo's fate could not be changed. He became a compiler at the Pei Wangfu. Later, due to an article titled A Memorial to the King of Ying, which reached Emperor Li Ji, it was perceived as an attempt to sow discord between the emperor's sons, leading to his exile from Chang'an. As a result, Li Hong greatly admired Zheng Fan's foresight and sought to intercede on Wang Bo's behalf with his father for Li Ji. Unfortunately, imperial orders cannot be easily altered, and the talented youth had to endure hardship for the time being, hoping he would learn from this lesson. Emperor Li Ji and Wu Zetian began to view Zheng Fan with new respect. They noticed their son, after months of cultivation with Zheng Fan, appeared healthier, with a rosy complexion and a long-lasting breath, no longer looking frail as before. During this time, although he hadn't attended classes with his masters, his knowledge had not diminished. Rather, his understanding had grown. This child from the Tang family had been raised at home due to illness, rarely going out, and had not been known to study under any famous teachers. At the age of 15 or 16, he was already quite remarkable. What was even more commendable was his humility. Among the young lords who spent their days competing in trivial pursuits, he stood out like a crane among chickens, truly exceptional. As a result, the individual who had been demoted to a region in the southwest benefited from his son's influence and received rare commendation from the emperor, along with various rewards and an increase of 500 households in his fief. Several of his legitimate sons were also granted titles as dukes, and due to his contributions in guiding the crown prince, he was directly elevated to the title of Prince of Linhuai. Fortunately, the title was merely symbolic, providing some additional income while daily life remained unchanged. Otherwise, he might have had further troubles. Chapter 67. Game launched the next day. During the highly anticipated global press conference regarding brainwave fluctuations, he did not attend the event in person. Today, his colleague was working a night shift and would be resting during the day, so he took the opportunity to invite her to watch the movie The Wandering Earth. Acclaimed as the first major domestic sci-fi film. After being in theaters for over a month, most people who wanted to see it had already done so, resulting in limited showings and a sparse audience. They purchased tickets for a small screening room, where only a few scattered individuals were present, making it feel almost like a private screening for just the two of them. This film is adapted from a novel of the same name by the well-known domestic sci-fi writer Liu Cixin. He had specifically read the novel online the day before, so he had some understanding of the story. However, once the movie started, he realized that it diverged significantly from the novel, apart from the title and the story's background. The specific plot had been extensively altered. The actors chosen were all skilled performers, and the special effects were well executed. Over the course of the 2-plus-hour film, there were both intense and emotional moments. Despite knowing it was fictional, he found himself moved to tears, and his companion shared similar feelings, offering each other comfort as they embraced. After watching the movie, they dined at a restaurant below the cinema, enjoying the famous fried sauce noodles from an old brand. They returned home just after 1 in the afternoon, and upon turning on the television, they discovered the press conference had been underway for a while. A manager from a local automotive company was introducing a new hybrid vehicle about to be launched to promote energy conservation and reduce emissions. The country was vigorously developing new energy vehicles, primarily electric cars. However, the current shortage of charging stations made pure electric vehicles expensive and with limited range, leading manufacturers to develop various hybrid and range-extended technologies, which also fell under the category of new energy vehicles. Hybrid vehicles operate on the principle of adding batteries and electric motors to traditional cars, allowing for both fuel and electric drive, significantly reducing fuel consumption. The downside is that their structure is more complex and prices are somewhat higher. The XC60 he bought for his colleague employs this technology, as it can carry a green license plate and does not require a lottery for car purchases in major cities, leading to its growing popularity in recent years. Range-extended vehicles, on the other hand, build on pure electric cars by adding an engine and generator, enabling battery charging when convenient to plug in is unavailable. Such vehicles have not yet been released to the market. After the introduction of the production vehicle during the press conference, a uniquely designed vehicle appeared on screen. The overall shape resembled half an oval, with symmetrical front and back, making it hard to distinguish between the two. Inside, there were 2 rows of 4 luxurious seats that could rotate 360 degrees, adjust forward and backward, and fully recline to create a flat surface resembling a large bed. This was a concept vehicle that was fully electric and autonomous. Similar concept cars have been introduced by many companies in the past. Due to technological limitations, particularly in the realm of autonomous driving, these vehicles remained merely concepts. However, the current concept car has evolved beyond just a concept and can now be referred to as a prototype. Several dozen units have already been produced and are undergoing various tests, with market availability expected within a year to 2 years at most. The most notable feature of this vehicle is the complete elimination of a driver's seat, allowing for fully autonomous driving. It has no designated front or back, and the front and rear windows can turn opaque to serve as projection screens for entertainment or to display external conditions. After the introduction of the concept car, the executive vice president, Gao Hua, took the stage to discuss the development of the company's artificial intelligence technology and to envision a promising future. In summary, she stated that human society is on the brink of a profound transformation that has already begun and is irreversible. Once the abstract concepts were covered, the large screen behind her displayed scenes from a game, showcasing an aerial view of the Tang Dynasty's Chang'an city. Aside from the Daming Palace in the northeast and the western inner garden, the city was perfectly square, with streets laid out in a grid, divided into 108 neighborhoods. The perspective gradually lowered, moving through the bustling Zhuke Street, resembling a real-life version of the famous Qingming Shanghe painting. Featuring people from all walks of life engaged in various activities, dressed in diverse attire. The view then quickly rose, shrinking Chang'an City into a small box on the vast Guanzhong Plain. The scene shifted to the north, where 2 armies were locked in fierce battle on the endless grasslands. One side consisted of an all-cavalry force from the steppes, while the other was primarily a well-ordered infantry unit clad in shiny armor, wielding long polearms. As the blades struck, enemy cavalry were cut down, leading to a swift and chaotic retreat of the cavalry forces. The perspective once again rose, making the battlefield appear smaller. The scene transitioned to the peak of a towering mountain, where a sage-like elder was meditating. With each breath, the weather on the mountaintop shifted in harmony with him. The words "seeking immortality" appeared on the still image, as Gao Hua continued her speech, which included many excerpts from the company's internal forum praising the gaming experience. At this moment, the large screen displayed download options for various platforms, including a QR code for the official website, announcing the official launch of the Seeking Immortality game. Finally, regarding the company's flagship product, the Gaming Pod, Gao Hua merely provided a brief introduction to its functions and pricing, announcing that online reservations would begin, with a formal release on April 1st, without excessive embellishment. The press conference concluded here, although the event appeared somewhat subdued. Possibly due to the presenter's lack of experience in public speaking, the products introduced were undoubtedly impressive and would create significant waves. Despite the calm nature of the presentation, the number of viewers watching the live stream was substantial, and after the game launched, the number of registered users surged dramatically. Initially, only a few hundred people from the company had registered, but within just a few minutes, the number of registered users surpassed 100,000 and continues to grow. The buzz around this game has been building since its internal testing phase, with rumors about its super-intelligent independent development, highly realistic gameplay, and smart NPCs generating high expectations among seasoned gamers. The company has also signed broadcasting agreements with major platforms, and many game streamers are eyeing it, claiming it to be a groundbreaking game. Zheng Fan randomly followed a female game streamer named Xiaoyu on his phone and started watching her live stream. Xiaoyu is a young new streamer who relies on her decent looks. Her follower count has just crossed 10,000, but only a few dozen viewers were present in her stream, with the last comment made just a minute ago. Confident in her appearance, Xiaoyu chose to represent herself in the game, even using her own name. When it came to selecting her character's profession, 2 options appeared, random and specified. According to the game help, the random option means the system will select one of the common professions like farmer, herder, craftsman, fisherman, hunter, doctor, small merchant, or soldier based on the population ratios of the time. The specified profession option requires a payment of 10 units, while a premium choice costs 100 units. Offering backgrounds like wealthy merchant family, official family, noble family, bandit, monk, Taoist, expatriate, and more. Zhang Fan noted this charging scheme, realizing that his colleagues in the game department had put considerable thought into it. In this game, dying once means having to choose a profession again, but for most players, this cost is negligible. As long as they avoid making fatal mistakes, they wouldn't need to choose professions too often in a year. Xiaoyu, unwilling to pay, opted for a random profession and entered the game. Chapter 68. Game streaming streamer Xiaoyu wasn't very lucky. She randomly ended up in a farmer's family. The first scene of the game introduced her identity background. In the first year of the Great Tang Dynasty, in Hebei Province, Beiping County, Lulong County. Her father's surname was Fan and her mother's surname was Wang. The family owned several dozen acres of land, and her 3 older brothers were already married. She was the youngest child at 16 years old, engaged but not yet married. The game, like other 3D games, allows players to switch between first-person and third-person views, with similar control methods. Xiaoyu quickly got the hang of the game, controlling her character as she wandered around the small courtyard of the farmhouse. The yard measured over 10 meters in both length and width, with 5 main rooms to the north and side rooms on both sides. The west side had a chicken coop on the south side, housing many chicks, while just outside the courtyard wall was a small vegetable garden with many green seedlings just breaking through the soil. The mobile screen was small, but the resolution was comparable to that of an average computer monitor, allowing for clear visuals of the game's graphics, as well as Xiaoyu's clothing and appearance, which were nearly indistinguishable from her real-life self in the streaming room. If she weren't wearing a patched outfit made of coarse cloth and sporting an ancient hairstyle, one might think she was doing an outdoor live stream. A rural woman was working in the vegetable garden on the east side of the courtyard. She looked up and called out, "Yuer, come help your mother water the vegetables." "Did you call me?" Yuer replied in surprise. "Who else would I call? You're about to get married, and yet you're so reckless. Always jumping around." The woman affectionately scolded. As Yuer approached, she noticed the woman's head bore the characters for her mother's surname. "You water the plants, and I'll go fetch water. We need to finish early to prepare lunch." After saying this, the woman handed her the ladle and then walked off with an empty wooden bucket. The number of viewers in the live stream had increased by dozens, many of whom were newcomers. Some commented, "The host is really going all out for views. This patched outfit is so realistic, and look at that ladle, that wooden bucket, and this vegetable garden. Must be growing bok choy." Dude, don't talk nonsense if you don't understand. This is in-game footage. You think I haven't played games before? This looks like real life. If this is just game graphics, I'll eat my hat. Be careful with your words. A visitor cautioned. Seeing the comments, Yuera quickly switched screens. This is indeed a new game, and I'm a new streamer. Please support me, everyone. In the game, Yuera's mother had brought another bucket of water and noticed Yuera standing there dazed. "What is wrong with you today, daydreaming again? If you're tired, go rest in the house. Here we go." Yuera switched back to her phone for the game, starting to control her character, mimicking her mother's movements to water the plants. She quickly got the hang of it. Zhang Fan found this stream uninteresting and switched to another one, soon landing on a male streamer. This streamer was clearly well off, choosing a character from a prestigious family living in a grand mansion, surrounded by a dozen maids while enjoying a lavish meal filled with delicacies. He was showcasing each dish and boasting about it. "Look at this, everyone. Silver gilded chalices. This game is so detailed. I've seen such cups in museums, priceless treasures. This is just the cup we use at home for drinking." The male streamer proudly introduced. "That's 2 words. A visitor commented. "I say it's just a few words. Wealthy. Spoiled." The male streamer instructed the maids, "I'm full now. You all can clean up. Xiaoyu, give me a shoulder rub." The maids hurriedly cleaned the table, and a pretty young maid stood behind the male streamer, using her small fists to massage his shoulders. The show-off demeanor was hard to watch, so Zhang Fan scrolled away. He continued to browse through a dozen more game streamers, both male and female, most of whom were streaming a cultivation game. The professions they chose were varied, with some still adapting and others already playing with great enjoyment. The sofa was soft, and Zhang Fan lay back while scrolling through his phone. Li Hongyi, dressed neatly, came out of the bedroom and said, "I'm off to work. I won't be back until after midnight. You can make yourself something to eat for dinner. I'm leaving. Be careful on the way. Do you want me to pick you up after work?" "No need. I'll drive myself there and back." With that, Li Hongyi left for work, leaving Zhang Fan alone at home. After browsing on his phone for a while, he quickly felt bored and decided to kill the remaining time in the game. Just as he was about to enter the gaming pod, he received a call. Looking at the screen, it was Lu Yu. "Zhang Fan, you have to save me 2 gaming pods. I was just half an hour late and couldn't get one." It turned out that after receiving Zhang Fan's call yesterday, Lu Yu had also prepared to reserve a pod, but after finishing his girlfriend's matters today, he found that all the reserved ones were already taken. Lu Yu downloaded the game and quickly became addicted. If the mobile game was so fun, the gaming pod, which was said to provide an immersive experience, must be even better. He thought it wouldn't be fun to play alone, and his girlfriend had to join in too. Fortunately, Gao Hua had the foresight to ensure that each employee could reserve 2 pods, and the executives had 10 each. Zheng Fan reserved 1 for Li Hong and his parents, leaving him with 7 remaining. After giving Lu Yu 2, he was left with 5. He wondered if Ho Chung had managed to grab one. As he was thinking about this, Ho Chung called. You have internal slots for the gaming pods, right? How about giving me 50? I can pay more. You didn't get one either? How is that possible? You reminded me. The problem was that he had boasted to others that he knew someone from the company, and now everyone was asking him for help. You can't let me down. Ho Chung was very straightforward. I only have 5 slots left. I don't know if I can get more. Let me check. After calling Gao Hua, Zheng Fan learned that everyone was facing the same situation. The gaming pods were in high demand, and the initial batch of 10,000 was snatched up in just a few seconds. Most people in the company received similar requests, and the originally reserved slots were almost exhausted. They had planned to release 10,000 pods daily to gradually build up hype, but unexpectedly, the first batch had already caused a frenzy, with over 30,000 gaming devices being grabbed like smartphones. There were still some slots available, and releasing another 10,000 from the unreserved ones would be enough for everyone to maintain their relationships, especially since the price remained the same and it wasn't free. With Gao Hua's promise, Zheng Fan felt more confident and gave Ho Chung a satisfactory response. After that, Zheng Fan didn't enter the gaming pod and just waited for calls. He had never been this busy. Previously, he might not receive 10 calls in a month, half of which were about financial products and insurance, while the rest were from delivery companies. Now, in just one afternoon, he received over 10 calls, with acquaintances wanting to reserve gaming pods. Zheng Fan felt like he was becoming the company's customer service. Fortunately, he didn't have many contacts, and even fewer people knew where he worked. After this round of calls, he estimated that no one else would reach out to him for reservations. Those who could had already done so. Chapter 69 New players with the game's launch. The official website and forum were also officially opened. Less than 2 hours after the press conference ended, the number of game registrations had already surpassed 500,000, while the forum posts exceeded 1,000 and replies topped 10,000. It's important to note that this game did not allow pre-registration. Players could only register after the game went live, and each account could only be registered by the individual using their identification. This speed exceeded everyone's expectations. Zheng Fan had access to all the backend data of the game. Out of the more than 500,000 players, over 300,000 were willing to pay for their character's profession, with most opting for the high-end profession at a cost of 100 yuan, while very few chose the 10 yuan option. In just over 2 hours, the company had already made over 30 million yuan. Checking the computational scheduling situation of Achong, fortunately, there was no significant surge. The 500,000 players were still far from Acheng's theoretical limit. The server costs for today were effectively covered. The titles of posts on the official forum were far more flamboyant than those on the internal forum, featuring all sorts of sensational headlines, each one more outrageous than the last. My grandfather is Li Yuan. Li Bai and I are sworn brothers. The untold story between me and Li Shimin. Returning to the Tang dynasty as a prince. Gongsun Dania dances for me, truly breathtaking. I'm here. I saw it. I died. Clicking on the hottest post. My grandfather is Li Yuan. Was worth the 100 yuan spent. Upon entering the game, the player became the son of Prince Li Jianqing, living in luxury. Unfortunately, after enjoying it for just a day, no, just an hour, they encountered the Xuanwu Gate incident, and then the game ended. The replies below clearly reflected shared experiences, with most players dying shortly after entering the game. Be content, you at least got to enjoy a taste of luxury. I just entered as a lowly soldier and died immediately. I was just a soldier of the Qin Wangfu. I feel your pain. Are we all just cannon fodder? This game is too cruel. Haha. I'm also a participant in the Xuanwu Gate incident. I didn't die? Aren't you jealous? I've already become a Rinyong Xiaowei. Long live the Qin Wang. Don't get too cocky. I hope you can survive a few more hours. Zheng Fan found himself laughing so hard at this thread that his stomach hurt. Many of the players here were evidently participants in the Xuanwu Gate incident, but unfortunately, they were all unsuccessful participants. Those who succeeded were likely busy playing the game. Not only were there sensationalist titles, but there were also some substantive technical analysis posts. One post titled My Thoughts on the Immortal Game was quite well written. The game installation file is only a few dozen megabytes, taking up less than 100 megabytes of space after installation. Yet the graphics quality in the game surpasses almost all major titles on the market. It adopts a fully automated mode set to a spectator perspective. The visual quality is indistinguishable from watching a movie. The high-intelligence NPCs seem like the best actors. They don't even appear to be actors because actors leave traces of performance, while these NPCs embody their roles perfectly. The brilliance of superintelligence can be seen in many aspects. Even an ordinary passerby has their own background and story. In the game, within just 1 hour, I encountered hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the city, each with their own unique characteristics. Every street, every house, every shop, as well as vehicles and horses, all appeared incredibly realistic. I carefully measured the dimensions of the houses and even walked through the city to measure the distance between two city gates. It should be a one-to-one realistic map. The entire city, and perhaps the whole world, is meticulously replicated in the game. Superintelligence has created an incredibly authentic world reminiscent of a grand dynasty, allowing us to immerse ourselves in it. The experience on mobile is impressive, and it's said that the gaming pod provides an immersive feeling. I wonder if it can truly be experienced as a form of time travel. I am very much looking forward to it. This player's post also included many game screenshots, which clearly indicate an extraordinary identity. Magnificent mansions, shiny gold and silver utensils, satin clothing embroidered with dragon patterns, and spacious, comfortable luxury carriages, all subtly highlighting the owner's noble background. This post garnered many replies. You must be a member of the royal family. Didn't you have anything to do with the incident at the Xuanwu Gate? Is the prince looking for a little servant? I'm clever and quick-witted. Impressive. There are many female players in the game as well. One female player seemed very pleased with her chosen background and posted a thread showcasing various beautiful ancient costume screenshots. The player looked stunning, and the beautiful clothing paired with the antique architecture resembled a high-value ancient-style photo shoot. These two threads sparked enthusiasm for sharing screenshots, leading to a flood of various images. There were serious character screenshots, as well as beautiful landscape images from the game. Many attractive NPCs were also featured. Among them was a cute little girl. Can anyone guess who she is? This post piqued Zheng Fan's interest. Upon opening it, he saw that the little girl appeared to be about 4 or 5 years old, looking charming and adorable. Zheng Fan didn't recognize her, but he did recognize the person holding the child. It was the Crown Prince Li Hong, who had recently been training with him, though he was dressed casually in the image. The little girl couldn't possibly be Li Hong's daughter. Could she be his younger sister, Princess Taiping? Zheng Fan was even more curious about the player who captured this screenshot and whether they had entered the same game realm as he did. The screenshot of Li Hong resembled what he looked like after training, which meant the game would surely become lively. He wondered how these individuals would affect the game's progression. The player's identity in the game was unclear, but being close to princes and princesses suggested they must not be of low status. There weren't any maid or eunuch roles available yet, it seemed. It appeared they were either members of the royal family or the offspring of officials. Zheng Fan added the other party as a friend on the forum and inquired about their identity and era in the game. The other party quickly replied, "In the first year of the Zhongzhang era, I am from the Qijia Silk Shop in the Western Market. Are you here too? I thought I was the only one. What is your identity? I live in the Tengwang Villa in the south of the city and have sent someone to place an order with you. If you bring it yourself, we can meet." Zheng Fan replied, "Are you the newly appointed Prince of Linhuai?" Zheng Fan asked curiously. "I guess the whole capital knows by now. The first gossip I heard in the game said that the seventh son of Tengwang received divine instruction and cured the crown prince's chronic illness, which is why the emperor made an exception to grant him the title of Prince of Linhuai. Other direct descendants of the founder are only granted the title of Duke." The rapid spread of this news further confirmed Zheng Fan's suspicion that this person was in the same realm as him. "Add me on WeChat. I can't log into the game today, but we can play together when I have time." The other party sent a private message with a phone number. Zheng Fan sent a friend request, which was quickly accepted. He then realized that the other person was a woman with the online name Ji Yunin Feng, suggesting she was a fan of Dream of the Red Chamber. Before entering the game, Zheng Fan thought of a question. His time in the game passed quickly. A few hours could equal several months in reality. He might miss the chance to meet that online friend. It had been a while since he checked his cultivation level. He had over 1,000 experience points and reached level 17. His strength, speed, and spirit attributes all exceeded 90, but his comprehension remained at 90 without any increase. He had been out of the game for more than a day, and over a month had passed in-game, despite only playing for 4 days. A year had gone by in the game. After the Crown Prince, Li Hong, had significantly improved in health. He no longer resided in the Zuwei Palace, but returned to the city every few days. It seemed he was someone who couldn't stay idle. Zheng Fan, however, was indifferent, continuing his daily routine of climbing mountains, cultivating, practicing calligraphy, and playing chess. Without an opponent, he began learning the zither. At that time, the guzheng had only 13 strings. In later years, it was increased to 21 for a wider range. It seemed that learning it wouldn't be applicable, so Zheng Fan focused on the guqin, which had 7 strings in both ancient and modern times, appearing to be easier to learn. Ancient texts recorded legends of Fuxi, Shinnong, and Huangdi making zither, as well as Tang Yao creating one. Shun established the 5-string zither, King Wen added 1 more string, and King Wu added another during his campaign against Zhou, making it 7 strings, with a history of at least 3,000 years. The guqin has a wide range, deep tone, and lingering sound. The steward, Sure E. hired a private tutor, said to be a senior professor from the teaching department, an older woman named Aunt Zhang in her 40s. People of this era aged quickly. Many in their 40s today could still pass for young ladies, but she had already become an older woman. Every afternoon, Zheng Fan learned to play the zither for an hour with Aunt Zhang. Looking at the zither scores, which were even harder to learn than traditional Chinese characters, Zheng Fan gritted his teeth and memorized them. Relying on his remarkable memory, he memorized the pieces before practicing them, as Aunt Zhang taught. After a few days, he surprisingly learned a piece well enough to play it completely from memory without looking at the score. The hardest part was starting. Having learned the first piece, he could also recognize the scores, allowing him to explore and play other pieces. However, after half a month, Aunt Zhang felt she had nothing more to teach and proposed to leave. Zheng Fan asked the steward to double her pay